Control 2, Major Tom.
The Fixed Ops Roundtable is ready for liftoff for day one of the Fixed Ops Roundtable All Systems Go event. Here to make one giant leap for Fixed Ops is our host, Katrina Ness.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Katrina Ness from Northwood University, calling all automotive astronauts, ready your rockets because we're taking the Fixed Ops Roundtable to new heights. Explore a solar system of star speakers and panels as we orbit around day one of our All Systems Go event. Houston, we have liftoff. Come in Mission Control. Simply navigate to the right side of your screen to interact with our intergalactic chat. Just be sure to select everyone and not just hosts and panelists. Here to captain today's journey is our keynote speaker. Now, please welcome the mind behind Live with Lopes and author of The 7-Minute Setup, Frank Lopes.
Good morning, my friends. It's great to be here today. Let me start off this morning by asking you a question. Are you running your race or are you watching someone else run theirs? Now, before you answer, I want you to think back just for a second. Think back to the 2016 Olympics, specifically August 9th of 2016, the final of the men's 200-meter butterfly. Michael Phelps steps onto the platform, stone-faced, shoulders wide, completely focused, looking like a machine that was designed and tuned to win. He's already the most decorated Olympian ever. He's got nothing to prove. Or does he? Because this race, my friends, this one's personal. 4 years earlier in London, he lost this exact event to a guy named Chad Leclerc from South Africa. And guess who's in the next lane for the 2016 final? Yep, it's Leclerc. But this race, this is the rematch. This is the race that will most likely dictate Phelps's legacy or minimize his success. They dive in. For most of the race, they're neck and neck, stroke for stroke. But there's this one moment, one frame that went viral. About 2/3 of the way through the race, Leclerc turns his head and looks at Phelps. He's literally watching the competition instead of focusing on the finish. What's Phelps doing? I'll tell you what he's doing. Heads down, eyes forward, not watching anyone. He's locked in. He's running his race. They touch the wall. Phelps, 1 minute, 53.36 seconds, gold medal. Leclerc, 1 minute, 54.06 seconds, fourth place. Off the podium, no medal, nothing. And right here today, just a moment or so ago, as soon as I said Michael Phelps, every one of you knew exactly who it is that I was talking about. But nobody knew Leclerc's name when I said it. Just admit it. You didn't know his name. Most of you probably said to yourself, oh, that's what that guy's name was. And no, look, I'm not an Olympic swimming enthusiast, okay? I had to look it up myself. Now, what's wild is that Leclerc didn't just glance once. He looked over at Phelps at least 5 different times during the final lap. 5 times in a race that was literally decided by less than a second. Every time he looked over at Phelps, he gave up momentum. He gave up focus. He gave up ground. That's not just like a physical error, it's a mental one. And it cost him a medal. It actually cost him the gold. You see, what makes this even more powerful is that Chad Leclerc was actually ahead of Michael Phelps for a portion of the race. Then they were neck and neck. Then, with just 25 meters to go, Leclerc was still in second place, within striking distance. But as Phelps surged forward, Leclerc faded. The focus slipped, and so did the result. From contender to forgotten in the final stretch. From gold medal winner to the answer to a trivia question that nobody ever gets correct. That right there, my friends, that right there is the whole game. Focus, mindset, leadership. Look, let's be real. You didn't come to this event today because you need more information. You came because you're trying to lead in a world that's getting louder, faster, and more distracting by the minute. And look, I get it, man. I'm right there with you. Tariffs, falling gross profit, technician shortages, parts delays, negative CSI surveys, rising recon times, vendor overload. Every time you open your phone or walk out of your office, raise your head, or even just when you get out of bed, there's another reason to feel panic. There's another distraction just waiting for you out there. But here's the deal, my friends. You can't win your race if you're watching the guy swimming in the next lane. And you can't lead your people to victory while you're staring at your competition or staring at the headline. Sometimes it's not even competition that you're actually even watching. It's really nothing but chaos. You're consuming the fear. You're letting it shape your decisions, your energy, letting it shape your message. And that's bleeding down into your team. In the dealership today, you're juggling more than ever before. And ownership wants you to grow revenue while reducing expenses. Through all of that, you're supposed to keep everyone positive, motivated, and locked in. Good luck. Good luck with that. Look, This isn't about pretending that those problems don't exist, okay? Doing that would just be foolish. This is about what kind of leader you choose to be in the middle of all of that chaos. Let me help you out here, okay? There's two things that you need to keep saying to yourself. Two things that you need to keep repeating. And it's kind of funny because these are the two things that I say to myself all the time. And I teach when I'm training salespeople and leadership in dealerships all across the country. And ask anyone on my team at Strong 30 Automotive, and they'll back me up that I say these two things all the time. Okay, now if you're taking notes, these are the two things that you need to write down right now. Number one, write down, keep the main thing the main thing. And number two, write down, be where your feet are. Let's dive into those two things, okay? Keep the main thing the main thing. Keep your head, your attention, your presence. Keep it all exactly where it needs to be, right here, right now. Not in the doom scroll, not in the group chat, not in the dealership down the highway, okay? Not towards that dealer or that leader that you think has it all together, who really doesn't. They're just as lost as you are. No, you need to keep it right here, right now, with your team, with your mission. When you walk into that service drive, when you walk into your showroom, when you sit down in your office, it's all about this team, this day, this opportunity. It's about the customer standing in front of you. It's about the advisor that's struggling right now, who doesn't need a lecture or a threat, but they need a word of encouragement. It's about the tech that's usually turning 55 to 60 hours a week, who hasn't turned 40 hours in the last 8 weeks. It's about the salesperson who puts 20 plus on the board steadier than a beet laid by mustard. If you didn't get that last reference, keep up. Come on, man. Mustard on the beat, bro.
Mustard on the beat, bro.
Okay, I'll just keep going. Look, it's not about what you lost yesterday. It's not about what you're worried about that could happen next month. Keep the main thing the main thing. If you lose your focus, even for a second, you start drifting. And when leaders drift, the whole organization drifts. Every inch you lose because you're distracted is 10 times harder to recover. Every minute that you're distracted, your people pay the price. A recent study conducted at the University of California, Irvine showed it takes 23 minutes and 15 seconds to refocus on a task after being distracted. My friends, stay locked in. Keep the main thing the main thing. And the second saying, be where your feet are. A very special longtime dealer partner of mine, her name is Yvette Roybal. She's the owner of Octane GMC in Santa Fe, New Mexico. She taught me this saying, and she uses it all the time. She's told the story of back when her daughter Sophie was hospitalized and needed open heart surgery at only 5 months old. During the over 10-hour surgery, Yvette didn't know if Sophie was going to live, and if she did live, didn't know what the quality of her life was actually going to be. It was that saying and a lot of prayer that got her through that tough time. She told me she would say, "This is up to God. Up to now, I've done everything that I could and should. But now, as for me, I need to be where my feet are, right here, right now, making the decisions that are best for Sophie and for our family." Friends, when things get hard, you don't need 47 new strategies. You don't need to call 11 people and ask them all the exact same question. What you need is clarity. Look, you're in the people business. You're in the execution business. You're in the leadership business. You're in the get things done business. The moment you start chasing shiny objects, overanalyzing reports, blaming the market, or asking anyone and everyone the exact same question that ends with, "Well, what would you do?" you lose. Just be where your feet are. Because when you're mentally somewhere else, when you're stuck in yesterday's bad CSI survey or tomorrow's technician shortage or next quarter's numbers that you're scared that you're not going to hit, in reality, you know where you are? You're nowhere. You're standing in your service drive, but your mind and your feet are not in the same place. You're at your desk, but your attention is somewhere completely different. And trust me, your team feels it. They know when you're just going through the motions. They know when you're only half there. And right now, they don't need half of you. They need and deserve all of you. That next advisor that you're about to have a one-on-one with, they need and deserve all of you. That service customer that's boiling hot because their part is on back order again, guess what? They need and deserve all of you. That technician debating whether to stay or leave your store because the other guy down the street is offering some huge signing bonus, they need and deserve all of you. Not a distracted version, not a worried version, not a half-present version. Look, you can't be in two places at once. You can't lead the room if your mind is somewhere else. Look, this is the real truth right here. The future, man, we all going to get there, okay? The problems, they're going to come and we're going to solve them. The losses, yeah, they're going to hurt. The wins, yeah, man, we're going to celebrate those for sure. But right now, in this moment, in your next interaction, your next meeting, your next challenge, be where your feet are. That's real leadership, okay? That's focus. That's how you build something that outlasts the noise, trends, the wins, and the losses. Despite what the fancy know-it-all gurus of the automotive world like to say, leadership today isn't about predicting the future. It's about setting the temperature of the room. Even when everything around you feels hot as hell or cold as ice. Because when the leader panics, the whole team falls apart. But when the leader locks in, the whole team rises up. You want to know the difference between the stores that grow through the chaos and the ones that get crushed by it? It's not the brand. It's not the size of their showroom or how many service bays they have. It's not the size of their inventory. It's the leadership. Your people don't need a weather report, and God knows they don't need more negative post-game analysis. They need a thermostat, and the thermostat is you. And you better be set at a nice, steady 70 degrees and be set to auto, ready to blow warmer to raise the temperature or blow cooler when things get a little steamed up. So let me leave you with this, okay? Let's get tactical right now. 4 moves that you can start today. You may want to write these down as well, my friends. Number 1, control your consumption. Limit the negativity you allow in your mind. You're either feeding your focus or you're starving it. Remember, fill this thing with good stuff so there's no room for the bad stuff. Number 2, lead eyes forward. You can't win yesterday's race. It's already gone, okay? You can only win today's. So always lead eyes forward. Number 3, build anti-fragile teams. Pressure should forge your team, not fold and crush it. Get them strong now before the next storm hits. And number 4, control the temperature. Nobody needs to be slamming the thermostat, hitting that button saying, it's too hot in here. They need you to walk up, hit the cool button, and bring down the temperature. Look, you've got GMs and fixed ops directors running around like Chicken Little. The sky is falling! Tariffs, inventory, expenses! Damn it, man, stop! Come on now, we've been through worse. Many of you watching made it through the Great Recession of 2009. Probably all of you watching made it through COVID. And now you're scared of a couple of headlines? Come on, man. Get a grip and get to work. Look, it's just fact. You can't lead if you're distracted. You can't grow if you're discouraged. You can't win if you're watching somebody else. When you walk back into your dealership later today, when you walk into your service drive, your office, your next team meeting, the sales floor, walk in like Phelps. Head down, eyes forward, mission clear as crystal, mind on lock. Be where your feet are. Keep the main thing the main thing. And don't just manage your department, lead it. Now, come on, my friends, come on, let's go. Thank you. My name is Frank J. Lopes, and let me leave you with one last thing. Thank God for the car business.
Unlock the industry's most comprehensive service technology platform. Xtime delivers a simple, fully transparent digital experience for both consumers and dealers. Get approvals on additional service recommendations in as fast as 7 minutes and earn 46% more dollars per repair order with Xtime. Dealerships and OEMs have long relied on Xtime's leading position in service scheduling, multi-point inspections, service marketing, and the consumer check-in experience. Drive revenue and profitability with our proven service technology that enhances the service experience from start to finish. Gain consumer confidence and elevate the staff experience with solutions that drive convenience and speed. Set the tone for the ultimate service experience with Xtime Schedule. Maximize your team's productivity and keep customers coming back with convenient online scheduling features and robust shop capacity management with Schedule. Grow fixed operations with every appointment using Xtime Engage, creating superior personalized experiences for your customers. Boost efficiency and profit with seamless check-ins, convenient status updates, and fast checkouts. And avoid frustrating bottlenecks with connected data from back-office processes to fixed ops. Improve your service department throughput and yield with Xtime Inspect, a fully integrated digital multi-point inspection tool. Obtain faster ASR approvals and higher profits, increasing RO value, instilling confidence in customers, and improving staff productivity with enhanced time-saving technician processes. Generate the demand you need at the right time from the right audience with Xtime Invite. Maximize revenue potential with multi-channel marketing capabilities through AI and service automations that drive performance marketing, precision targeting, and personalized outreach. A more profitable service experience requires a better service platform. Xtime gives you the comprehensive tools you need to enhance every communication touchpoint, resulting in satisfied customers and dealership staff to ensure ROI and increase likelihood of repeat business. Xtime is a part of a powerful ecosystem of retail solutions from Cox Automotive. Power on Retail 360.
Put the Venus in V-Auto for our first panel featuring Micah Tindor and Patrick Janes.
We want to and continue to become that epicenter for automotive education, training, thought leadership, and certainly placement of aspiring students for this industry. But it really is our silent kickoff party, as you're going to hear more and more about Northwood University Center for Automotive and Mobility Studies. It's a remarkable testament to the power of relationships and moreover friendships. And today we've got remarkable panelists discussing all arrays of the automotive retail and aftermarket sectors.
When the next generation millennials and Gen Zs are entering the workforce, they want to know more about career development, professional development. Where do I go from here?
Stay curious. Our industry is changing so fast, and I know that the technology that's out there is going to change the way we look at the world very, very soon.
I think when we look at each other for solutions, you get incremental growth, but when you look outside the industry and look at what the big aggregators are doing, you can get exponential growth.
You can leave here and you can get taught all this great stuff by the school. But what's going to separate you guys is the first link in the chain. It's your willingness to activate it.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Ted Ings, and we have an exciting panel today. We have the Vehicle Sourcing and Appraisal panel brought to us by vAuto of Cox Automotive. And Ted, we are just coming off an incredible event over at Northwood University, and we have some really, really exciting content today.
Micah and Patrick have just presented this to the class at Northwood, Sarah. So this is fresh information. We're excited about it. I know the students were as well. Patrick and Micah, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks. Great to be back.
Thanks, Ted. Sarah.
Patrick, good to see you up in front of the class there with Micah at Northwood. And you're very respected. I have a lot of folks in the industry who told me that, they very much remember all the classes they went to with Patrick Janes, and you made a big impression on people.
We're building evangelists out there for the industry, right? So I've been doing it about 7 years now. So what's amazing is to see students that I had their freshman year, that are out graduated in the industry now. And that's fascinating to see. And they're planted all over the place, which is really amazing. That's what Northwood does a great job of that, getting them scattered amongst all the different parts of the industry, right? Whether it be the vendor side, the OEMs, or the retail side.
Yep. Great material, great stuff. Micah, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you start off today with our presentation.
Thanks, Ted. Appreciate that. What we're going to talk about today is vehicle sourcing. In particular, we want to talk about vehicle sourcing and how it fits between fixed and variable ops. So what we want to start with is a little conversation just around the gorilla in the room, and that is tariffs. Obviously, as we think about bringing vehicles into inventory, as we think about bringing parts into inventory, and then fixed and variable, both leveraging that asset to drive revenue in the dealership, they are being impacted by tariffs. And what we wanted to start with was just a quick look at kind of what are the tariff details. We've all heard about them, but it's good to level set. And then what has the market reaction been to this point? And we want to say that this is actively changing, obviously. So while these are bullet points that are relatively positioned correctly, it may change tomorrow. But really what we're seeing is that 80% of vehicles are expected to be impacted overall when parts tariff is included. And that means that you're going to see an increase on new vehicle prices. And what is being projected by Cox Automotive is an average $5,000 increase per vehicle. And that can range between $3,000 and $11,000 depending on the vehicle type, but average $5,000 increase. What Cox is projecting then is because of that increase in prices and because we're already in an affordability crisis, we're projecting a bit of a decrease on the new car sales front and projecting about 11%. And different industry pundits say anywhere between a 7 and a 30% decrease if all the tariffs hold and there aren't any adjustments over time. And what that is expected to do, and we're starting to see in the market already, is shift some of what has historically been new car purchase demand over to the used car side. And that's really because affordability is becoming more and more challenging. We have already seen in Q4 and moving into Q1 that about the bottom quarter of consumers, 20-25% of consumers, were unable to purchase a new vehicle. They're already priced out. And as tariffs are likely to increase those new cars by an average of 5,000, it's going to shift more people down into the used car side. So the way we're already seeing the market react is that different OEMs are reacting differently based on their exposure to the tariffs and what they're able to do. Sure. So really the big takeaway on this is that each dealership, each dealer group needs to be aligned with what their OEM's doing. Secondly, that we've seen consumers immediately spike into the market to buy vehicles, trying to avoid those tariffs hitting on the new vehicle side. Just in March, we saw pacing projected to be at 17.2% when the month started. Obviously, that's a little bit ago now, but that's when the tariffs were first announced, and it was that instant response from consumers going out and trying to find vehicles. And that same month, we heard a bunch of our clients start to say that they're having record-setting months on the used side. So as we're out there in market starting to strip out some of the available supply, of course, the question becomes, how do we replace those vehicles so we can keep our sales pace high? Which is why we're talking about this topic of sourcing, and particularly how do you source out of the service drive? Because what we're seeing is if you go to auctions right now, we've seen a 15% reduction in those prime retail vehicles, 6 years old or newer.
Wow.
15% less of those vehicles are available at auction right now. So what Patrick and I are here to say is that now is the prime time to operationalize a service drive acquisition strategy. Those of us who have been in the industry a couple years, let's say. I'm almost 20 years. For years, the whole time in the industry, we've been talking about service drive acquisition, and there's always been challenges to it. But now is an opportunity to actually deliver a service drive acquisition strategy that can be executed pretty cleanly, and it's the perfect time in the face of all these market changes. The last quick thing is, as we talk about fixed and variable, for any of our variable friends who are listening, the data right now supports increasing used car prices. So there is an opportunity on the variable side to go out and get in a little extra revenue. And we're going to talk about how the fixed side can help contribute to that today.
Makes sense.
Mike, I liken this to back, during the pandemic when some dealers said, we're going to hunker down because, demand's going to really reduce significantly. But we had that famous trough where demand went down and then it shot back up so much faster than anybody expected. And some dealers went out and bought a bunch of cars saying, oh, we're going to speculate. I think customers are going to come back and need used cars during this pandemic because, the government's going to throw some cash out there and people are going to buy. And people were like, are you crazy? I can't believe you're out there at the auctions buying cars. Well, they're out there buying cars right now, right? There is some speculation going on that there's going to be a shift, and when we're predicting it here, to used cars. And I think there are some dealers that are positioning themselves to take advantage of that. But we all know that, and I think you're going to get into this in the next slide, that that only going to the auction is not the most efficient way to do it, because you're usually just the person with their hand up last, right? And it gets a little pricey to be able to pull that off. And then you talked about the affordability issue, which really is going to create the margin compression, right? Affordability back during the pandemic when the government was sending checks out wasn't so much of an issue, but there are no checks coming out this time. So we have to rely on people actually being able to manage a payment around a high interest rate. So we think that used car margin compression is still going to be challenging. We're not going to we'll be able to raise prices, but I don't think it's going to be anything like we saw after the pandemic where I could put any price on a car and somebody had to buy it.
I think you're right about that, Patrick. And where it really reveals itself is how do dealers go out and source vehicles to stock that used car lot. And I think Patrick explains this slide really well. When you think, put our dealer caps on, put our fixed and variable caps on, and really turn them towards the variable side and think about how does variable need to go out and get inventory? How can fixed help? I think this slide represents it really well. Patrick, do you want to run everybody through kind of how we're thinking that the service appointments fits into the total stocking strategy?
Yeah, so we have tried to identify really what are the most viable sources to be able to go out and get used inventory from. Today, we're gonna dig in a little deeper on the service appointment side because those cars are under your nose and in your service drive today. So probably the low-hanging fruit if you can put together a process. But just to mention some of the other ones, I mentioned auction, which, that's been a tried and true place to go, but difficult when supply is low and demand is high. Group inventory. We've been providing at Viato a lot of solutions lately for groups to make sure that they're optimizing the retail success of a unit within the group. In other words, why let a car that you've traded in a particular store that may not do well there go out to wholesale when you may have another store in the group that would do very well, and giving them insights to be able to make those decisions. The other area is, and we've got Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer here, obviously under the Cox Automotive umbrella, but this could be any lead source that you get for people trying to trade their car and then being able to work that lead source effectively. We've got the old tried and true missed appraisal, and I think dealers can kind of go back to the basics here, the old blocking and tackling, which is, hey, the average look to book, or I should say the best look to books that we see, how many trades appraisals you've done versus how many you actually put into inventory is about 50 to 60%. That's at really, really well-run stores. So that still means that 40 to 50% of your trades are leaving and going back out in the marketplace. So are we working and looking at the filtering to those cars that were really great opportunities that we just probably couldn't get together on the numbers? And are we going back to do that save a deal meeting that we talk about all the time? And then finally, you've got the last two are the private party listings. A lot of dealers having some success with buying cars off the street with customers who think they want to sell it to their neighbor or someone else and give up on that, and the dealer is able to buy the car, and those things are usually listed broadly in the market. And then last but not least, which has been tough, is lease returns, right? This is a big problem with why we don't have the supply here lately, because we are, again, I'll throw the trough word out. This is the lowest year for lease returns that we've seen in over 10 years. And that was created because the used car factory wasn't working 3-4 years ago, right? During the pandemic. And there was about 11.5 million cars, as we saw it in the US, that just weren't produced. And a lot of those would have been leased, and they would have came back after 3 years to the front step of the dealer, and we'd have rolled them into another lease, and we would have bought that lease car and made it a nice certified pre-owned car, et cetera, et cetera. And though that volume is just not there. And as a result, there's no program cars at the auction in volume like we've seen in the past. So another tough one. But these are all the sources that we've identified to this point. And Micah, why don't you take us into the service appointment side?
Yeah, the reason we have that box around service appointments is because the opportunity to buy cars out of service is something that everyone's wanted to do forever, as I referenced earlier. But it's always been constrained because you have to have an aligned tech stack so that fixed and variable both can align the plan, and you have to have the change management. And historically, it's been incredibly hard at a dealership to change your tech stack and do change management simultaneously. But Service Drive represents some of the highest quality vehicles easily available in market. If you look at all the 7 channels and you assign a grade to the average type of vehicle that you acquire from that channel, we see that Service Drive is one of the highest graded channels. Profit Time GPS grades vehicles 1 to 12. If it's a 12, it means it's a platinum vehicle and you need to hold it for gross. If it's a 1, you need to turn that vehicle because there's a small margin on it. There's 69 vehicles like yours right now in market. Stuff coming out of Service Drive is an 8 or a 9. It is a very high value vehicle, and there's a significant amount of value for both fixed and variable ops in executing a plan. And that's what we're going to get into here in the next couple slides. Because as we think through the idea of Service Drive acquisition, we really think it's the secret sauce, both for the fixed and for the variable department. And let's just talk for a minute about why is it beneficial to the variable department. And Ted, if you don't mind just shifting down one more slide. When we think about Service Drive acquisition from a variable ops side, I'm sorry, it is fixed first, which is more important really in this conversation. When we think about it from the fixed side, and I apologize, historically it's always been, we have Service Drive appointments coming in, we're going to write ROs and make money on it. Yeah. And then the used car department shows up and says, I want to buy that car. Our service writer loses money, the whole department loses money, and there's no benefit to fixed ops. But we really think that now, the way that consumers are behaving, there's a significant benefit to fixed ops in being part of a Service Drive acquisition strategy, where fixeds can identify customers that need to have the vehicle purchased for the benefit of the fixed ops department. One of the opportunities is really in customer loss prevention, and that pairs really closely restarting the service cycle. We all know the stats around what percentage of customers are going to stick around after their warranty expires, visiting the service department. What sort of penetration can we get into when we sell and move them into service? And the ability for fixed to identify a car that they want variable to purchase at the point that the customer's coming in or the day before presents a golden opportunity. Because if you know that customer is going to either leave and go to some independent shop, or you know they're interested in buying another vehicle from the conversation, you should get out ahead of that. You should flip them into another vehicle in partnership with the Service Drive acquisition strategy from variable ops, and you should restart that service cycle. Bring back that customer that you know is out there looking for another vehicle. The other benefit is it creates a steady, predictable flow of internal pay work. There's always that customer pay, internal pay battle.
Sure.
But if you as a service department are suggesting these 4, 5, 6 vehicles a week that you think should be purchased, you're already going to write an RO on them. You know everything that needs done. You know where to slot them into your schedule, what tech could work on it. Do you have the parts available? And it starts to feed a scheduled and systematic internal pay process, which is always beneficial from the fixed side. And then lastly, it's an engagement tool. This isn't an upsell. Unfortunately, when a customer comes into the fixed side, they're coming in to get mostly something repaired, which isn't a happy experience. And anytime that we can have a value-add engagement that doesn't include you need to pay us money at the end, it's a good thing for building that rapport. And to be able to engage a consumer and say, Ted, I'm not sure if you're looking to sell your vehicle right now, but our used car department really needs that vehicle. We think we could give you top dollar and probably get you into a brand new vehicle at exactly the same cost. That's a value-add conversation on the fixed op side. And Ted, I know that your teams have talked a lot about this, and the Roundtable's talked a lot about how to buy out of service. Do you think that these are something that resonate with your listeners?
Oh, absolutely. Everybody's focused on this right now, Micah, whether it's in fixed ops or on the variable side. This is the main focus right now, what's happening in retail.
And we all know the benefits to variable ops, right? And we have a slide on that, but really it's about getting high value inventory, having inventory that matches your stocking strategy, it being a low risk acquisition. The highest risk element of an off the street acquisition on a trade-in buying off Craigslist for the variable department is that they can't really identify the mechanical condition very well. No. We did a survey last year and we found that only 44% of dealers do anything to accurately identify mechanical condition on a vehicle during an appraisal. But if it's coming out of the service drive, you have already written everything up for them. They know exactly what the condition of the vehicle is. So it's a low risk opportunity for them to buy a vehicle without having those hidden recon fees pop up.
Sure. Yep.
Great opportunity to sell a replacement vehicle. And then for the variable department, they're also going to be really excited about that proactive scheduling for internal pay work. But really, the core need here is to build a program where fixed and variable work together to identify what vehicles to acquire. And historically, that's really been impossible because there's 5 things you need to have a successful service drive acquisition strategy. You need to have connected technology, an aligned process, consistent appraisal process, aligned comp plan, and reporting. 2, 3, 4, and 5 are really change management and people process. Number 1 is the thing that historically has really hindered fixed and variable from the ability to jointly identify vehicles that benefit both sides of the house and focus on buying them. But that has changed within the last year. There are now tech stacks that unite whatever appointment tools are being used on the service side, whatever inventory management tools are being used with the used car department, and whatever appraisal tool. There are now technology stacks that unite those all into a single place that allows you to set a holistic strategy that everybody can go out and execute against. So we are coming and saying today's the day in the face of tariffs to really focus on driving that acquisition strategy. Find that united tech stack like vAuto, Xtime, KBB, ICO. Find that united tech stack and deploy it in your ecosystem so that you can build alignment around what vehicles you're going to buy from both sides, have an aligned pay plans so that whoever writes up the RO on the vehicle when it's acquired and comes back as dealer pay work, they can collect the revenue. And it allows you as the fixed department to really start driving revenue on the variable side, which we always want credit for that, while also building a more scheduled process on your side. And I think really what's important here is how do you go about correctly putting a price on the vehicle? The average consumer has 2.6 cash offers. So I'm going to hand it over to Patrick, and he's going to walk through now that you want to do this, how do you make sure you put a competitive price on the vehicle and present it to the consumer in a way that's going to make them confident to say yes?
Yeah, Sarah, I think your listeners, say, okay, you guys keep telling me I got to harvest my service drive. But it's a daunting task, right? I mean, to set up a desk in the service drive and try to appraise every car that comes through, and it's not a good strategy, right? People get a little burnout. They only buy a handful of cars over a certain period of time. How does the pay plan support that, et cetera? So it's on us as a technology company. We're going to take responsibility for this to make this easier for the dealer to be able to streamline and target the best cars that you really need to be able to fill in your gaps in your inventory. So this is, a couple of screenshots here, but what we're working on for our dealers is to be able to bring everything into one place when you appraise that car. Micah mentioned about the mechanical inspection. Risky proposition not to be doing a mechanical inspection when a car comes in at an appraisal. There's OBD2 scanner technology now, right? Several companies that are out there integrating that into the appraisal, again, all in one place so that we can see those issues, being able to itemize your reconditioning that you need to do for the car to set up the fixed ops department to be successful once we do take the car in on trade, having better, accurate reconditioning assessments so we can put a really good number on the car. And these are the things that we're trying to do to be able to make sure the dealer doesn't have to appraise every car, but the ones that they do, they're very accurate. They're on the money. They can give a value to the customer that's transparent. It builds trust. And then ultimately get a car that fits their needs, right? The ones that they sell the best, right? And we have insights in inventory management tools that tell us that. So let's put them to use. And that's really where we've been going on the technology front. And I think dealers will find that easier to enter into this service drive strategy of trying to get those cars right underneath their nose. And then finally, doing a professional consumer presentation. So I'm going to date myself, but it wasn't too many years ago that I was in the retail world, and most of the trade appraisals that we put in front of customers was a green Sharpie on a worksheet. One value, right? There wasn't a whole lot of evidence there of why we came up with that number. It was a guy behind or gal behind the curtain that threw it on there, and the salesperson walked out with it on a piece of paper. We have built a solution to be able to give more evidence, to be able to substantiate why we came up with that value on the trade. And again, it's just showing the vehicle history report, showing the results of that OBD2 scanner, all the reconditioning, and also the positive things about the car. Using KBB insights that say this car traditionally value is increased because it has this option or that option. So it's pluses and minuses for the customer so that it's transparent, it's informative, and really builds that trust. So that's where we're at today in the technology world to be able to help dealers be more actionable in that service drive.
Sarah, it's all the things that Patrick and Micah have been talking about for some time now coming to fruition at this time with all the things happening in the market around us.
There's so much excitement, Ted. I mean, this is a lot going on in our industry today, but it's nothing that, automotive dealers haven't faced before. So it's exciting to hear from Patrick and Micah, all of these incredible strategies that can help dealers maximize their opportunities.
Patrick, you've really put it all together, okay? And all the tools we've talked about for so long, here's how they come into play. And that service drive, Micah, is rich, and that is the area that we got to go out and if they haven't already, start working on that. So I love the way you presented it. So thank you both for being here today. Everybody, for more information, reach out to Cox Automotive. Patrick has been kind enough to put his email up here on the screen and brave enough to put his cell phone up here. So you could call or text. You could reach out to Patrick Janes or Micah as well and reach out to Cox Automotive. And gentlemen, thank you for leading the way on this conversation here at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. And congratulations on all the success you're having.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Always good to be with you.
All right. Patrick Janes, everybody, and Micah Tindor from Cox Automotive, the Auto, here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
The business model of Automotive Warranty Network has always been to provide the very best service we can to automotive dealerships. We believe very much in partnerships, so we partner with dealerships to help them process their warranty repair orders the best they can, but also stay compliant with a manufacturer policy and procedure.
Dealerships, some of them don't understand the importance of the supporting documentation. The repairs are performed, manufacturer is going to come in and audit them. That supporting documentation needs to stand up in an audit. If not, those monies will be charged back to the dealership. So important thing that our team provides the dealerships is the information where the supporting documentation does not support the repairs performed, where they could lose those monies in an audit.
Audits are not scary. Audits are actually fantastic learning experiences. I'm a big proponent for audits. I am not perfect. I do not think anybody is perfect. AI isn't even perfect. It is such a learning experience, and manufacturers are looking for things differently every year, and it keeps us on our toes. Then I know that I could take that information that I gather and provide it to my other dealerships and say, hey, we need to stay on top of these things.
We offer full warranty administration services from beginning to end, from reviewing technician comments and punch times, looking up and applying labor operations and times in the DMS, and transmitting to the manufacturer for payment. We then follow up on claims daily and account for any differences in payment.
SWAT stands for Specialized Warranty Assistance Team. We provide coverage for admins who could be taking vacation, if there's family medical leave, bereavement, sick time. So we provide coverage so that there's no hiccup between the admin being out and the dealer having their work processed.
We developed an application called CARS, which stands for Claim Accountability and Reporting System, which is a reporting tool that we use to help dealerships improve in their processes. So it's a tool that we use to identify how frequently compliance issues are happening in a dealership. And we can tell dealerships how frequently those problems are happening, which of their staff members is happening with. And then we also offer training to help educate those particular staff members on the types of issues that they're having and help them improve.
I think the biggest thing I love about this company is the owners. David and Jamie, they care about us. They encourage us to do training. They encourage us to make sure that we're master certified in our car lines.
When I started with AWN, we had 30 employees and about 167 clients. Currently, year to date, we're at 1,500 clients and 340 employees and growing. It's pretty amazing. The people that are with us, our clients, we love them. It's a pretty amazing place to be right now.
It's all about the hours. Welcome to the brand new Porsche Sacramento with Tully Williams, Sarah Vantine, and Ted Ings.
Welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Ted Ings. I'm here with Sarah Vantine. We're in beautiful Sacramento, California, with our great friend, Tully Williams. We're here at the Niello Company. Tully, thank you for having us.
Well, this is amazing. Well, we got these people to come in. We're going to showcase the great talent of the Niello Company. We've been in business for 104 years, and we're at our beautiful facility, our Porsche store in Sacramento. I cannot wait for you to meet all of the men and women of the Niello Company.
Sarah, we have quite a day ahead of us and a lot of panels and a lot of employees, a lot of people behind her.
Ted, it's going to be so exciting to see all of the incredible people of the Niello Company and also all of the partners of the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Yeah. So when you look at some of our great panels we're going to have today, our technicians, remember it's all about the hours. So we're going to talk about our training path for our technicians and how do we build technicians into superstars because we want them to go home, rich and tired. We're going to talk about our service advisors, how we bring up people in our service advisors, make them superstars, turn them into great managers one day. Our parts department, because without parts, we can't sell ours. Cannot wait for you to showcase our great parts managers and parts teams. And then, of course, our great managers that we have at our store today, talking about the great processes that we do to make ourselves successful. So guys and gals, you are in for a massive treat today.
Tully, one of the things I really like about your organization is that career path. If you don't mind speaking to that for a moment.
We believe career paths should be in writing, so our technicians know exactly what's going to happen. I don't want to take too much away from the panel, but when we hire a technician, we have it in writing where they start. And the goal is that we have a path to $55 an hour, and we want to make sure they understand how they do, and we want to give them small raises, not large raises. We want to show them how they grow, and of course, we want to do that with our service advisors as well. And we show them the pathway from, say, a receptionist all the way up to an assistant service manager and one day a service manager. Our goal is always plan for the future. We want assistant managers in all of our stores for parts and for service.
And Sarah, one of the things we're going to highlight today, of course, is the people of Niello and that career path. And we have several panels with the ladies of the organization as well.
It's going to be so exciting to hear from the women of Niello, and we have a lot of great panels around communication, technology. There's just so much information that we're going to learn today from the amazing people here.
You know, when you look at our women in the business here, Chris Toll started as a receptionist in Fixed. Remember, the Niello company was founded in Fixed, but we are so excited to hear her story and some of the gals that she has coming up through the ranks. And then, of course, some of the superstars that we have here at the Niello company. So looking forward to that panel as well with Chris Toll.
All right. So Sarah Vantine, Tully Williams, a lot in store today.
It's exciting.
We're in Sacramento. We're at the newest Porsche dealership in the nation. Is that correct?
That is correct. We've been open for about 6 to 8 months. We're super excited. It is a great facility. It's a Gen 5 building. Remember, the Niello's company also has the oldest Porsche dealer in the United States with the same dealer. And now we have one of the youngest ones. So we are proud to showcase the Niello company and this great facility.
All right. So without further ado, everybody stay with us. We are in Sacramento at the pop-up event. We're with Tully Williams at the Niello company, Sarah Vantine, and Tully. And I will be right back.
Every day, repair orders hold the key to profitability, but are they unlocking their full potential? Disconnected data, missed opportunities, a blind spot in performance optimization. Introducing Repair Order Insights, Dynatron's game-changing technology that transforms raw repair order data into actionable intelligence. No more guesswork, no more gaps, just data-driven decisions that put you miles ahead. From service managers to dealer principals, ROI arms every decision maker with the power to drive more profit, make faster decisions, and have total visibility.
It takes everything Dynatron's been giving us to make us smarter and does it faster and does it better. So, I think what excites me about ROI is that it's going to help us optimize more effectively our parts and labor pricing and give us viewership of what is fundamentally bringing down our effective labor rates in real time so that we can activate immediately.
Time is precious. And the last thing I want is my service manager sitting in their office, pulling reports, dissecting numbers, when all that can be done for them and on one platform. So I know every dollar, every penny, every tenth of an hour is very valuable in the fixed operations side. And certainly with what's going on in our world and country and pricing and inflations and stuff, it's more important that we capitalize on everything. And the only way that I know to do that is to have the Dynatron partners at our fingertips and have the data. That's the only way.
And now it's your turn. Are you ready to bring the future of repair order insights to dealerships everywhere? Let's go. Let's make an impact.
Our next speaker is the Sally Ride of automotive retail. Please welcome Liza Borches from Carter Myers Automotive.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here with Liza Borches, and today we have an incredible conversation. scheduled for us. Liza is the president and CEO of Carter Myers Automotive. Liza, thank you for being part of the roundtable.
Always. It is always a pleasure to be on and to watch the entire event.
Well, Liza, you are such a incredible inspiration for our industry. And there's a lot of conversation that's been happening. But first, before we jump into our questions, I know our audience is familiar with you, but for those of you who may not know about Carter Myers Automotive, could you share with us a little bit about you and your company?
Sure. We are based in Charlottesville, Virginia. We have 24 dealerships around Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, and soon opening our 5th Honda store in Maryland. Hopefully it'll be within the next year. It's just been a long project. We are a 100-year-old company. I have the honor and privilege of being the 4th generation of my family to run the organization and lead the organization. And I think one other unique thing about us is that we are an ESOP. We are both employee and family owned, and always looking to learn.
Well, Liza, Carter Myers Automotive is such a beacon for our industry, both in processes and in best practices. One of the conversations that we've been having a lot in the industry of late has been around trust and really what customers can expect in that trust process. And there's been some things headlining in the news recently that have given customers some pause. But I'd love to hear from you. How have you been enabling that transparency and trust in the customer conversations that you're having?
Well, let's just throw out the word tariff. Let's just put it out there, because I think we are in a unique moment right now where trust is needed more than ever. I was telling our team this morning that we are sitting in the middle of what I'm calling the tariff tornado, and we need to be the calm at the center of the storm. Our customers are confused. There's a lot of chaos out there in the media. They don't know if there's a 25% tariff on every single car sitting on our lot today versus are we going to have parts to fix their car tomorrow at a reasonable price. And so right now, our communication to our customers, our clarity and our transparency in the situation to help them make really good decisions around their transportation needs is needed more than ever. And so, while some groups and in our industry, unfortunately, I think have been using the word tariffs to create some fear and urgency, get in now before the tariffs hit, that's probably not going to create that long-term trust that we are all after. I also think some of our manufacturers who have instructed us not to use the word tariffs in any advertising or on our websites, I'm concerned about that. I think they're requiring us not to use the word tariffs because they think we're going to use it in the wrong way, that we're going to be using it to create this fear and this urgency. But if we don't talk about it, it's like we're not talking about the elephant in the room. We don't want it to take us off course. This is not a tariff tornado that's going to knock us around, but we do need to acknowledge that it's here and make sure our customers know that we can be that trusted resource as we learn more about what's going to be happening on tariffs on new cars, how it might affect the used car market, how it's going to affect parts coming into our service departments.
Well, and Liza, I love what you said about being at the calm, at the center of that tariff tornado. And you touched on a piece, I think, that was really important in that conversation too, which was around that employee trust. And, with employees specifically, you're getting that information from the OEM or even, the dealer principal as well, that in some organizations can be, a little bit concerning because they aren't getting maybe the right information. So how do you really bridge this unique time in our industry with the employees?
We actually said to our team the same thing, that at CMA, we want to be the calm in the center of a potential storm if they have questions and concerns about what's happening in the environment, their bills, if things are getting more expensive for them. So I think that same philosophy goes for both customers and for associates. And I think being open, that's what creates trust. I've said it a couple times, but we try to talk openly with our team about what are the decisions that we're making right now, what data points are we using to make adjustments. We've decided as a leadership team at CMA that we are not going to have any knee-jerk reactions. We're not going to go out and buy a whole bunch of used cars thinking that prices are going up tomorrow, but we're going to buy and sell in the same 30-day period. As we figure out what's happening with parts, we're going to creatively put together solutions so we still have affordable options for our customers. But knee-jerk reactions in a season right now where things are changing so rapidly, they go one way and then they go back the other way. I think would be a mistake. So we're trying to over communicate with our teams so they know what we're thinking, what data we're using to make decisions, and including them in the conversation.
But I love that you tied in that transparency piece. And it's so important, in the employee and the customer experience. But, pivoting a little bit in talking about transparency, you recently had a meeting with your team and you were sharing some really interesting data around tech videos. And that's a whole other conversation, around transparency and that customer trust that's really important right now. So I'd love for you to unpack a little bit more information about what you're seeing at Carter Myers.
I think technician videos, multi-point inspection videos have been a conversation now for quite a few years in our industry. Some dealers have fully embraced it, some have not at all, and most of us are probably somewhere in the middle, right? So we have some dealerships who do a fantastic job and 90% plus. We have others that are not fully embracing it. And we pulled some data in Q1 of 2025, and I'll just share this with you real quick. We looked at customers who received and viewed, that's important, and viewed a video from their technician reviewing the multi-point inspection and recommended work. Customers who viewed the video on average spent $324 in our service department. Customers who did not view a video from our technician only spent $146. So they're spending more than twice the money when they have a visual review of what we're recommending. The trust goes up, the understanding goes up, and they tend to buy more. So the data is there. There is no question. That's just from our dealerships in Q1. So I was talking to our technicians the other day, actually to a whole group of our associates, and we had quite a few technicians in the room. And it was a new hire orientation. One of our brand new techs, he hadn't been there but 2 weeks, Sarah. And he raised his hand. He said, "Ms. Borches?" I said, "First off, you can't call me Ms. Borches." "And what is your question?" He said, "We don't get paid to do those videos, right?" Now, he's only been a technician for 2 weeks. So somebody obviously fed him this information, as he's coming to the orientation. And so I shared with him, I said, "Yes, I do know that you don't actually get paid certain hours to do this video, but I do want to compare it to something else in our industry. A sales associate, they take a customer out on a test drive, a customer who's interested in a car. They don't get paid to take a customer on a test drive, but the chances of that customer purchasing that new car after taking a test drive go significantly up. So our sales associates do the activities that they know are going to result in a sale and in building trust. Our technicians, we need them to do the same thing. They may not see on their paycheck 1/10 or 2/10 for doing the video, but when you can sell $324 worth of work versus $146, it's worth the effort. So we just got to keep communicating and making sure our technicians know how much we value their time, but also have them know that this process is to help them as much as it is to help anybody else. The customers are going to trust them. They're going to typically buy the recommended work if we can show those videos and help them visually understand what we're recommending.
Well, and that is so incredible, Liza, to just have that data too. I mean, and that's so interesting when you think about, looking underneath a vehicle. A lot of customers don't have that opportunity day in and day out to get underneath their car and see some of those things that a technician might be pointing out. And I love the analogy that you had with the test drive, because it's so true. And that's a big part of the salesperson process that gets trained on, probably very heavily in the OEMs and also in the dealership, how to give a proper walk around when you're about to go on a test drive with a vehicle, making sure you're making those, right-hand turns when you're in the test drive of the car. So what pieces of advice would you give, to dealers that when it comes to the training and that conversation around the tech videos?
Well, the first thing that we learned, because we've got, I think now we're down to just 3 different tools that we use. We have 3 different video tools in our service department. First thing is go back there with the technician and see how well the technology works. Make sure that it can be quick and seamless for them. Make sure that it is set up properly, that the internet, that the wireless strength is strong enough so things aren't spinning, because we don't want to waste their time. We also recently, after having some dealerships do real well and others not, we put together a 1-pager of here are the things that should be included. Here's what not to include. Have a simple 1-pager laminated at every tech workbench about exactly what they should be doing on a video. Because when people don't know what to do, it gets really complicated in their head, and it almost brings fear, and then they freeze and be like, I'm just not doing it. So make it very simple. These are the steps that you need to do to create the video. Next, make sure that the service advisor watches the video before it gets sent out to our customers. There can be mix-ups, and the wrong video might be going to the wrong customer, or maybe the technician didn't realize how loud that air gun was in the background as they were doing the video. And, there are things that can happen. So we don't want to ever put our technicians in bad light by accident. So give them a one-pager, make sure the technology works, watch the video before it goes out. And the worst thing we can do is have our technicians create these videos and then not send them and not make sure our customers know the value of them. Then we've really wasted their time. So those are just a couple of, I think, quick points from our last meeting as we were looking to continue to ratchet up our tech videos.
Well, Liza, it's incredible to hear those best practices. And that's such great advice, just in general for the industry. The fixed ops department sometimes, hasn't had the spotlight quite like variable has in sales. And so it's amazing to hear that you're putting that spotlight duly, on the technician and the service advisor in that customer process. I do want to mention and get your opinion on this too, because, a lot of conversation in the industry, we've talked a little bit about tariffs. We've talked a little bit about, the transparency and the trust components. But there's been some, conversation around the service department specifically as what the future holds, for fixed operations in dealerships. And there's been a wide variety of opinions, some even being so bold as to say, we have to crack down on what's happening in our service departments and what technicians can and can't do, or what hours they're working and what we accept, from their productivity or in their efficiency, those kinds of metrics. I would love to hear, because Carter Myers has such an amazing program, both for new hires and then your technician advancement programs, and then your service advisors and service managers too. You just have so many incredible, retention opportunities. How do you see the future of fixed operations playing out for both Carter Myers and the industry as a whole?
Well, that's a hugely broad question. I'll just share a couple of thoughts. As we look towards the next couple of years, we always talk about the importance of selling more cars. But when we look at where the true opportunity is and where dealerships can be more impactful, where we can bring in more revenue, more gross, it is clearly our service departments. Focusing on retention, a lot of our manufacturers are not even talking about CSI scores anymore. They're talking about retention scores. And when we look at the percentage of customers that don't come back to our shops, we all know this, it's massive to see how many of them are going to independent repair shops. So I don't think cracking down on our technicians and cracking down on some of the data points that you just shared is necessary. It has to be a collaborative solution. One of the things we're working on right now is creating non-negotiables and expectations and kind of revisiting those for each role in our company. And one of the really important ones that we're working on right now is our technician non-negotiables and expectations. But we're not creating this in a vacuum. We have technicians working on this with us. It's technicians, it's service managers, it's general managers working together to put this, to kind of start this draft list. Then we're going to take it back out to our service managers and other technicians and get their input. It's not a top-down approach. It's how do we collaboratively say what each role in the dealership needs to be doing so that together we're achieving our goals, which is associate retention, customer retention, overall sales effectiveness. And then when that all happens, the outcome of net profit happens too. Profit is the measurement of how much value we are creating. It is a good word as long as we're doing business the right way. So, I think our technicians are a foundation of our company. We talk often about the future of technicians and that we have a gap between our master high-level experienced technicians and the significant number of apprentices we have, but it's those in the middle of their career is where we have a pretty big gap. So I think the worst thing that we could do is look at our technicians negatively in any way, shape, or form. We need to embrace them. We need their help. They are our future. And we need them to love what they do because they're telling the next generation whether this is a good career path or not. Now, it is important, though, and the last thing I'll mention is it has to be a win-win. It can't be that the technicians are winning and the service department and the dealership is not. And it can't be vice versa. One of our core values at CMA, our core value number 2 is everyone wins. We have to be creating solutions where the technician is winning, the customer is winning, the service department and the dealership are winning, and we all win, the community wins.
I love that, Liza. And one other piece that you touched on with within that I think is a really interesting point that I'd love to get more perspective from you on. You talked about how you have those entry level techs, and then you have these master technicians, and then that space in between where technicians are learning, they're getting exposed to so many different components, they're learning where they may go in the industry or in this business. And that's a very competitive conversation, but that conversation starts before they're ever hired. And so that's one of the challenges I think that we've seen in the industry at large has been, where do I find employees that, first of all, are going to be able to speak to customers about the ever-changing technology that exists in their vehicles today, and then also have that appetite to keep evolving and learning. But you have a really unique opportunity that you present to individuals in your community and at large to recruit talent like this. I just would love to get your perspectives on, what's worked for you in getting this next generation of, future technicians and future service advisors to consider a career in automotive.
Well, our secret weapon is Beth Lucchese, who is our talent acquisition specialist. In fact, I think she has a new title now. The word community is in it. And she's amazing. And we created this position 4 years ago, I think it was. I don't know the exact date. But all Beth does all day, every day, is she spends time out in elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, technical schools, community colleges, sharing our story, sharing our industry story, and creating enthusiasm and energy around the career path of being a technician. She sets up parent nights in our dealerships. She has signing ceremonies at a lot of these schools. And if you have ever met Beth, you would want to become a technician too. So she is our secret weapon as far as encouraging a lot of the younger students to be able to join the technician career path, and specifically at CMA. But outside of that, one of the things that we look at as a retention tool, and this part of our company about being an ESOP. Right now, we're in the month where we are doing owners meetings, and we invite all of our associates to come to a meeting. We do 2 weeks of meetings, meeting with every single person in the company, announcing our stock price. And just this morning, I was looking at a couple of technicians who've been with us a very long time, who made more money this past year in our ESOP than they made in their paycheck. So let's say I'm just going to make up a number. Let's say they made $150,000 last year as a technician, and they made another $180,000 in their ESOP. That's a pretty darn good retention tool. So we do want to make sure our younger technicians, especially at CMA, can see what it means to stay with an organization for a long time. Not only are they going to grow and be trained and be able to be very efficient in their job, but we also want to make sure, whether you're an ESOP or not, that we have the right benefits package that is going to create a long-term career for them with our company. Because the worst thing we can do is be training technicians and having them leave and head somewhere else for $1 an hour.
That is so true, Liza. And I want to come back to, what you mentioned as your core values of the company, because that is one of the most amazing pieces. And Beth does an amazing job of articulating the Carter Myers Automotive story and how, those core values really, just expand to all positions within the company. But there's a lot of dealerships that are listening today that maybe haven't, had the dealership quite as long as y'all have had it around, and also are just maybe getting started on trying to figure out how to build a successful brand, both in their, in their dealership ownership, and also within the community. So I would love to hear from you, how do you integrate your mission with Carter Myers Automotive and customer expectations? And then how does a dealer really, look at getting started in building that brand?
Gosh, that is a great question and not an easy one to solve. But the number one thing that I would say is to listen. As we've always had the brand of ownership since 1979. That's when we started our ESOP, but we didn't always maximize that or communicate it or talk about what it meant. And really in 2010 is when we started diving in and asking our associates what it means to be a part of CMA and what it means to be an owner in our company. We then took it out to customers and we did customer focus groups and small groups. These were informal. I did not pay anybody external to do this. We just created some informal focus groups and talked about what it means to doing business with our company, because we can come up with core values. We can write them on a wall. We can say, well, I think this is who our company is. But if it's not who our customers and our associates say we are, then it's just made up words on a wall. And so if you walk around our dealerships, you won't see our core values, in stickers up in our conference room. I tell our team it's most important for me to see them living in our actions, in our words, and how we connect with each other and with our customers. And you have to go through this process every so often, because even over 100 years, I think our core values have adjusted. I wouldn't say they have transformed. I think who we are today is still reminiscent of who we were 100 years ago. But life changes and things evolve. So it was 6 years ago that I met with a leadership coach, a life coach, to talk through who we are at CMA. And I shared our entire story. I shared everything about our company for like 2.5 hours. And that's where we came up with our mission of moving lives forward. Because she looked at me after 2 hours and she said, Liza, you're a car company and you only used the word car like 3 times in 2.5 hours. And so that's where Moving Lives Forward was born. And she's like, that's what you've been doing for 95 years at this point. And we just didn't have the language to talk about it. And so one of the most important things I think in communicating your story is doing a lot of listening and then figuring out how you create a common language across your whole team. It's got to be simple, it's got to be real, and it's got to be authentic. And once you create that common language, then it's really easy to share your story with customers and with potential associates. Even down to when we respond to our reviews. I don't know how many we got last week, let's say, but one of our goals is to respond to every customer review on Google, Facebook, Yelp, whatever, within 24 hours. And using that moment to tell our story. So let's say someone wrote a review and they said, Sarah was so great to work with as our advisor. We love it. We only come to Colonial Honda because of Sarah. The response would be, we're so glad you had a great experience. As you might know, Sarah's one of our employee owners at CMA. Because she's an owner, she's going to just care a little bit more than maybe other places where you would choose to do business. Thank you so much for loving Sarah. She's going to be with you throughout your transportation journey. So finding those opportunities to tell your story when it's free and it's reinforcing who you are to your customers. We look for all of those little opportunities.
I love all of those pieces, Liza. And there's just so much that we've unpacked today. And I know that dealers listening and really anybody in automotive that's listening today has learned a lot of great information and a lot of great advice from you. So thank you for being part of the Fixed Ops Roundtable today and sharing all of this amazing insight.
Well, it is always exciting to be here. I would look forward to connecting with anybody who is listening and with us virtually today. Please look me up on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram and let's connect, because having like hearts and like minds in this industry is what makes it super fun.
Absolutely, Liza. And everyone, Liza Borches here with us today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable. On behalf of Ted Ings and I, we look forward to having Liza back on future segments. And Liza, I can't wait to hear more intel and more information as this year continues to progress. Everyone, stay tuned. We have more segments coming up next at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Hi, I'm Liza Borches, CEO of Carter Myers Automotive. I felt it was important that I reach out as our community wrestles with transportation decisions with the tariffs that were recently enacted. For over 100 years, Carter Myers Automotive has helped people with their automotive needs. Today, I hope to bring some clarity to the current situation and how it will affect you, our customers, that need or want a new vehicle. Our existing new car inventories, over 2,000 vehicles that are on our lots today, are unaffected by the tariffs. And all of our dealerships, all 24, have great supplies and strong factory incentives to help our customers. Now, this might or will change over time, and we're going to keep you updated over the coming months as these changes occur. For those customers considering a pre-owned vehicle, it's business as usual, as tariffs don't apply to these cars. Many of our manufacturers have special rates available on their certified pre-owned as well. As always, we are here to help when the time is right for you, with the information that you need to make your decision and the best care during and after your purchase.
Here are the superstars of repeat and referral business at the Niello Company.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I am Ted Ings. I'm here with Shon Kingrey. We are here in beautiful Sacramento, California with the Niello Company. Shon, you made the trip in from Madison, Wisconsin. A lot going on here with Tully's booth.
We did. This is, I mean, first of all, what a beautiful facility. And thank you, Tully and the Niello Group, for hosting all of this, obviously. What a great place. What a great panel, by the way. Obviously, near and dear to all of our hearts and fixed operations, because, by the way, we don't turn the hours. We don't make the money if these people up here that do that.
So we'd like everyone to introduce themselves. Starting on the end over here, tell us who you are, what you do, and how long you've been with Niello.
Hi, my name is Mark Isaacson. I've been with the Niello Company almost 5 years, but I've been in the automotive business for about 30 years. It's where I started my career, more likely where I'm going to end my career as well. I'm happy to make the move. I honestly, looking back in hindsight, I wish I had spent my whole career with the Niello Company. But I've been very fortunate, and I'm very happy to be here.
My name is Brad Hollingsworth. I've been with the Niello Company 20 years. Shop foreman at our Volkswagen store. Can't say enough about the Niellos. Love the Niellos. It's a great place to work for.
My name is Casey Smith. I'm the assistant service manager at Niello BMW in Sacramento. I've been with the company for going on 11 years, but 24 years in the business. Also would have to echo that this was the best move in my career that I made, coming to work for the Niello Company.
James Grogan, Executive Vice President, Dynatron Trunk Software. About 20 years of retail before I've been with Dynatron for over a decade.
I'm Terry Cottle. Been with the Niellos a little over 20 years as a service manager, and the Niello Company is a great place to work because they treat people the way they want to be treated.
I'm Ian Macomb. I work for the Jaguar Land Rover store in Rockland for the Niello Company. I've been with the Niello Company for 9 years now. I've been an automotive technician for about 20. Can't say enough about the Niellos. Love them.
So this panel represents superstars here at Niello. Casey, let me come to you and ask you, tell us, well, what does that career path for the technician look like here at Niello?
Well, we do, like Tully said earlier, we do have a defined path, from the time you become a technician all the way up. Almost 11 years ago, I was a technician, worked my way to a foreman, workshop manager, assistant service manager. So I believe in this plan. I believe in developing technicians and giving them a clear outline of what they need to do with the factory for training and how we develop them with other master technicians and shop foremen to make them the best that they can be so that they are doing quality, honest, ethical work and go home rich and tired, like Tully says.
Terry, from your perspective also as a service manager, how important is that career path to you?
It's very important because we get some of the gentlemen we get out of UTI or out of high school, start them off as service support, and then they have a clear path, what they need to do to become a line tech, and then a master tech.
Brad, from your perspective for the technicians, that career path, speak about the work.
Yeah, I mean, as a foreman, I got a new role to try to boost efficiency and get my guys. I actually ideally would want all 12 of my guys to be in the 3000 club. Did a little Q&A with them at the beginning of the year to how I can help them, how the Niellos can help them get to that. And right now, I have 6 tracking where this past year I had 3. So I'd like to get that number a little higher. So it's just motivation.
Okay.
And they give us the tools for it. So,
Ian, what about you?
I run keep the shop moving. I always tell them all about all the new guys coming up. The biggest tool in your toolbox isn't the tools that you buy, but the mind that you actually create. Make sure that you're always learning, you're always advancing. You stay on top of that new technology, because most of the guys start to struggle whenever they are having to learn on the fly instead of already knowing how that system works.
And let me ask you, what would you say in terms of career path? How important is having that?
Oh, the support, and it's just great. I do working at my dealership at Audi. We do hire a lot of younger gentlemen and women from UTI, and we provide them with the tools and training that they need to be successful. And I've seen them come up and become great flat rate technicians, producing tons of hours. So I had definitely seen it. I wish I had started my career earlier with Niello, and maybe I could be even further along than I am now. But very happy with with all the support and knowledge that is given to us.
Well, Mark, let me ask you a question about that, because we were talking, and it's great to be here, because obviously Tully and I have a relationship outside of work, and I get to hear about a lot of you, by the way. We throw a lot of numbers at each other, names at each other. So you say you've been here 11 years, is that right?
Well, almost 5 years.
Oh, 5 years. Oh, sorry, 5 years. So I hear you came out a few hours short of 4,000 hours last year.
Yes.
So you can't do this forever. We all know that. Technicians, eventually your backs are going to break and your bodies get tired and tools get too expensive. So what's next? How do you make the next step in the Niello route? Or if you want to move to Wisconsin, hypothetically. Sure. Sorry, Tully. But no, and how do you make the next step, and what does the next step look like for you?
That's a great question, and that's something I've given a lot of thought. I've spoken to my direct supervisor as well as Tully in the past. My next step would probably be a shop foreman and perhaps potentially even an assistant or a service manager.
Okay. Ready?
I love wrenching so much that they're probably gonna have to like wheel me out.
All right.
I learned from a really good foreman before me, Luke. He was there for 50 plus years. He kind of showed me the way. I called him Yoda. So at my stage right now, that's where I'm going to be. I can see myself going into that manager role later down the road when my body gives out, but I'm having too much fun right now.
What about you, Ian?
I've already kind of down that path because as you said, the backs start to wear, things of that nature. So, obviously, the top technicians were always being looked at and moving into the foreman roles, into assistant service manager or service manager roles are always kind of the goal. Keep us near the shop, which is what's dear to our heart. That's what keeps us moving. That's what keeps us our drive going to do what we do.
James Grogan from Dynatron Software, you're here from out of town as well. Is this your first time at the Niello?
It is, and it's amazing. So, definitely thank you for having me.
You and I and Shon, we see a lot of dealerships around the country, you and your team at Dynatron. How important is having this career path? And tell us a little bit about that.
When Tully walked me through it and listening to these gentlemen here, it's amazing. It's amazing. We service over 4,000 dealers, and we coach them in fixed operations. And the things we coach to, you guys are already doing. And it's fantastic to see. I think the number one thing is to make sure that the plan, there's always a next step. You guys know how to obtain that next step. It's clear. It's documented. We talked about, and it's awesome. It's very impressive.
Casey, let me ask you, do you see the role of the technician evolving? Because there's a lot of new technologies there in the dealerships. I know one of the things that Tully speaks about are these tech videos and making sure that they're performed and the customer sees them. Do you see the role of the tech evolving over time?
I definitely see the role. I've seen the role of technicians evolve over time, and it will continue to evolve over time. And something Ian mentioned about using your mind, that's the thing that we get to do now as leaders, is to teach these guys how to use their minds more. So as they develop in technology and develop in their roles with the company and with their brands, they become successful with that. But yes, that definitely.
Terry, you want to speak to that, the role of tech evolving and changing?
Well, with the technicians is in the past, they weren't really heard. And right now we listen to the techs. We have one-on-ones monthly to go over things. And that's what helps them know what their next steps are.
Yeah. What about you? Nobody wants to change, right? But what do you say?
One of the core values with the Niello company is embracing change. So adapting to all the new stuff coming out. As they said, now the technicians, our voices are being heard, and it's made huge improvements from what I've seen at our dealerships.
Yeah. And, Brad, technicians such as yourself, Ian, who stand out among others around the country, what do you see in terms of that evolving role of the tech?
I just see it being more and more. With technology now, back in the day, there was like one computer. Now on cars, there's like 50 to 100. So if you think you could just plug someone in there and they're going to do the same job, it's very opening that they can't do it. So it's awesome. It's evolving to be more of a craft, and I think that's how it should be, instead of the guys that you see all dirtied up. It's more using your mind than anything. Your greatest tool is your mind, basically. You can have all the tools in the world. If you don't know how to use them, it ain't going to help you. So it's more of a mindset than anything.
And I'll give you the last word.
Sure. We're becoming more and more problem solvers. The way technology is advancing, there's constantly evolving information, and we're just absolutely having to use our minds much more and more, especially with the newer vehicles that are so computer driven and electronic driven that you almost have to become a computer engineer these days to really understand how they work.
Thank you so much, everybody. The superstar panel here at the Niello Company. Want to also thank James Royden from Dynatron Software for being with us here today. Shon Kingrey also making the trip in from the Kaiser Automotive Group in Wisconsin. Gentlemen, thank you all for what you do for the industry. And we can't wait to come back and hear what's next and what's ahead for Niello and for all of you. So congratulations on all the success you're having. Everybody, I'm Ted Ings. We're here at the Niello Company. We're in Sacramento. Shon and I are going to be right back.
The Fixed Ops Roundtable Certified Program is designed to help preferred dealers and partners with powerful tools, resources, and marketing to achieve even greater success and help grow revenue. Ted Ings and I invite you to learn more today at FixedOpsRoundtableCertified.com.
You have money on the line, but this revenue doesn't have to stay on hold. On a typical day, almost half of service customer calls are put on hold for an average of 8 minutes, while another 40% are never answered. Now, answer every call in seconds with Ava, CDK's artificial intelligence virtual assistant, available across the CDK Dealership Experience platform. Ava uses conversational responses to book service appointments in real time. If further assistance is needed, Ava passes the call along to your team. Ava can also handle multiple calls simultaneously and respond fluently in over 50 languages, transforming long hold times into efficient and positive customer experiences.
Hi, I am Ava, your virtual scheduling assistant. What type of service does your vehicle need?
I need to schedule an oil change and a tire rotation.
Great! Let's get started with your oil change and tire rotation. Do you want to use one of your existing vehicles? Here are your options. 2022 Ford F-150.
Yes, that's correct.
How would you like to handle transportation while we work on your Ford F-150?
I'll drop it off and wait.
Awesome! We can schedule your appointment for Monday, December 2nd at 3 p.m. Does that work for you?
That date's perfect.
In about 2 minutes, Ava can help customers schedule a service appointment. Customers will feel their time is valued and their vehicle is in good hands, and service advisors will focus on building stronger relationships that yield more revenue. Ava puts an end to the wait and welcomes each caller with efficient, fast service. Every customer, every time. Learn how Ava can transform your fixed operations and more today.
We're entering a new atmosphere of automotive. Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable All Systems Go event.
Take a right to our next speaker, Andrew Wright from Vinart Dealerships.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. I'm Sarah Vantine here today with Andy Wright, the managing partner of Vinart Dealerships. Andy, welcome to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Thanks, Sarah. It's good to be back. Good to be back on with you, and thanks for everything you guys are doing for our industry.
Now, Andy, we are so honored to have you back with us today at the Roundtable. And we have a lot of interest of late, talking about fixed operations. So first, would love to have you share a little bit about the Vinart Dealerships and kind of the lay of the land of what brands are in your group.
Sure. So I'm fortunate enough to represent the Acura, Honda, Hyundai, Mercedes-Benz, and Porsche brands here in Eastern Pennsylvania in the Lehigh Valley, which is about an hour north of Philadelphia and about an hour west of New York City. So geographically, we're situated in a great spot. We're one of a handful of growing markets in the state of Pennsylvania, primarily due to our location and the proximity to those two major metro areas. So that puts us in a really good spot. And myself, along with the 430 team members that we employ and have as part of our family, come to work every day and try to grow our business and deliver for our customers. And I'm proud to say that we've been doing that at a high level for the last several years, and it's been a lot of fun. This is an exciting industry. There's never a dull moment, as people hear me say all the time, and that certainly is the case today. But yeah, it's been great. I feel like the brands that I represent are representative of a nice cross section of sort of mainstream brands with also high-end luxury brands and things like that. So we get to interact with consumers from all walks of life, and certainly manufacturers that have different points of view, if you will, or approaches to how they go to market and what they prioritize. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I think it gives me a front row seat to all aspects of the automotive retail market. So that's me in a nutshell.
Well, Andy, it's always a pleasure to have you on our show. And, there's a lot of conversation across the industry. So, it's been no secret that the tariffs have been top of mind for a lot of dealerships across North America. And we're thinking a lot in the United States about these specific brands that you have within the Vinart dealerships. And there's a lot of listeners today that are part of those brands that are looking at their businesses and their customer experience and trying to really figure out what to do. So, first, would love to get your perspective on the tariffs and what's next.
Yeah, sure. So I think, the bottom line is that we don't know what we don't know at this point. What we do know is that as of this recording, tariffs are coming. Lord knows that negotiations are ongoing, as I've told many people that I've talked to, and several people that have interviewed me in both traditional and non-traditional media outlets, that the bottom line is we're watching the art of the deal play out in front of us, and that's the president's style. That's his approach, and thus far, he's eliciting the type of response from our trading partner countries around the world who are coming to the table and want to renegotiate these various trade deals that they have, right? So I think from an automotive perspective, though, what we really need to see is we need to see things get resolved with Japan, with Korea, and with the EU. And I think if we can get to a point where we have resolution with those three major trade partners with huge presence in retail automotive, that'll go a long way, I think, to allaying some of the fears and concerns that are out there. But the big X factor remains China, and it remains China because of the position that China occupies in so many supply chains. They're responsible for manufacturing of so many items that impact retail automotive, that there's no question that a prolonged messy trade war, for lack of a better word, with China is going to have profound impact on retail automotive. We just don't know what extent yet. So what do? We continue to come to work every day. We do what we can to build value in the products that we have available right now that are largely pre-tariff. Well, they all are pre-tariff right now. And it looks like if everything remains as is, the vehicles that are going to start to arrive here in the next 2 to 3 weeks are going to be subject to tariff, and we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. But the manufacturers are going to have to decide how they want to handle this situation, because everybody says, everybody asks me, are they going to pass on the cost? Well, they can attempt to pass on the cost, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the consumer is going to pay it. So it really is going to sort of manifest itself in one of two ways. It's either going to manifest itself in price protection at current MSRPs, or if they decide to pass on the cost on the window sticker, and then they end up just rebating it back down because the market is telling the manufacturers that they're not going to pay these prices, and that in order to sell their products and keep their plants running, which is what their primary goal really is, that they're going to have to lower their prices, then they're going to have to come to market with much steeper incentives. So I just don't think it's a foregone conclusion that the consumer is just going to up and pay it and not bulk. But obviously, it has also impacts on used car values. We'll see where that goes. We're already seeing movement on that front. And lastly, the impact on parts. So many parts are sourced from foreign markets that are going to be subject to tariff, and what impact is that going to have on the cost of maintenance and repair of vehicles? So I wish I had the answers. I wish I could tell you exactly how this was all going to play out. We just don't know at this point. But there are any number of scenarios. But I'm still hopeful that they're going to make a deal. I think the president wants to make a deal. I think President Trump is not keen on tanking the economy or sending us into a depression in order to solve this situation once and for all. From an idealistic standpoint, he's a deal maker, and I think that's what he's going to ultimately set out to accomplish.
And it's always great to get your perspective on everything in automotive, Andy. And I want to pivot a little bit to talking specifically about fixed operations, because you have an incredible group, and you have a lot of great strategies when it comes to the customer experience. But first, just before we get into kind of the customer side of the equation, I want to talk a little bit about the employee side, because there's been some very large dealer groups that have made some announcements as of late, talking about that they're going to crack down on technicians, or they're going to hold them, more accountable to produce more and be more efficient than they already are. But you were talking a little bit about some of the challenges with tech shortages. So what are some of the ways that you really, strategize in the Vinart dealerships to really keep technicians, but then also, toe that line with accountability and production?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing I'd say that's worked best for us from the standpoint of technician shortages, if you want to call it that, or I'll just refer to it as technician retention and recruitment, has been our in-house mentor program. That's been probably the best source of new technicians for us, and that's helped us sort of fill our coffers, if you will, with manpower in order to meet the demand that we have, which is growing for parts and service, right? That program has just, unfortunately, our education system has not produced the number of technicians that we need coming out of the trade schools and doing that type of stuff. So left to our own devices, we created a program where we could take someone off the street that possesses the aptitude and the desire to become a technician. We can put them into our mentor program. It's a multi-step, structured, regimented process that is complete with, a senior tech that mentors the apprentice. And that apprentice technician, depending on the store, can be basically a B+ level technician in 24 to 36 months. So I think that's a very realistic timetable for these individuals. It costs them nothing. We provide all of the costs associated with the training and the equipment and tools and things like that. And we've really, I think, been successful and partially lucky in finding some individuals that have worked out really well and are on their way to having a very promising career in automotive service. So when it comes to technicians and what we're trying to do, that's the avenue, that's the approach that we're trying to go down more and more because of the success that we've had. Sure, we still get the one-off technician that walks in the door and wants to apply for a job. Some of the more traditional recruiting avenues for experienced technicians, we still participate in. But again, the primary driver for technician volume that we are achieving right now is our apprentice program. So that's been really good for us, and I'm very proud of the work that our shop foremans and the people involved in that process are doing. So that's been that. And as far as productivity is concerned, I mean, there's just, because of the demand that's out there, we've had to lean in with our tech team. We've had to keep them motivated. But really, the bottom line is, if we want our technicians to produce more, Sarah, we have to figure out ways to remove friction from our processes so that we can obviously be more efficient. The more efficient we can be, the more productive our technicians will be, and the happier our customers will be. So everything that we're working on from a fixed operations standpoint really revolves around, when we look at what I call the evolution of the repair order, from the time an appointment is made all the way through the time the car is delivered back to the customer. What are those milestones along the way that we can focus in on? And how can we improve our processes to be more efficient, to reduce or eliminate friction? And then everybody wins. And so those are the questions our leadership team is asking of ourselves and of our team members on a daily basis.
It's incredible to hear all of the strategies that you've implemented, Andy. And it's also really refreshing to hear about, just the level of training and focus that goes into your technician program. Another just follow-up question to that, if I may, the other component that I think a lot of customers and a lot of dealerships are really concerned about has been the growing level of technology in some of these cars. And of course, you have some very highline, luxury brands that can come equipped with a lot of technical components that are very precise. So how have you seen the customers' expectations with technicians evolve in the last couple of years?
I think the customer expectations have largely remained the same. I mean, they want their car fixed or maintenance performed, or their car fixed as quickly as possible, and obviously right the first time, right? The challenge that we're running into as an industry is that these cars have become so complicated with electronics and computers and things like that I've said this before, our technicians have really transitioned from being sort of your traditional mechanic, if you will, to these guys and gals are now more computer scientists than they are your traditional mechanics, right? But the problem is that there are so many different systems in these cars that talk to one another, which presents opportunities for breakdowns, unfortunately. And that's what's leading to a lot of the issues that the industry is dealing with from an IQS standpoint, from an initial quality standpoint. And so what's happening is these manufacturers are encountering these problems. They then have to turn around and work with the third-party companies that supplied the systems, along with the software that talks to the in-car software that is proprietary to the OEM. And then they basically have to troubleshoot things. So in a lot of instances, what we find is car might come back, customers had it for 6 months. There's a software update, there's a flash, whatever you want to call it. And it causes something to go haywire in an area that an OEM was not aware of. So the car ends up coming back, and then our technicians are on the front line to try to troubleshoot with the teams in the technical support centers at the OEMs. And it just becomes a little bit of a daunting process, of a frustrating process, because it's process of elimination. In a lot of instances, the OEMs don't know until they figure it out. So customer expectations, I don't think they've changed. I think what has changed is the methods and tactics and steps that we have to go through in order to accomplish effective service delivery. And how is that in any way, shape, or form conflicting with customer expectations? So that's where, again, communication is paramount. The role of the service advisor is tremendously important, more important than it's ever been, because they are the primary point of contact for more paying customers on a daily basis than any other job in the dealership. And so it's really important that, they need to have technical aptitude. They need to be able to sell. They need to be able to have the interpersonal skills, but they really got to have, if they're successful, they really have to have impeccable communication skills. And that's where, a lot of the focus is directed right now.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned communication, because that just sparks another whole thought and conversation, because, there's a lot of customers that do get frustrated at the beginning of the process. So just in simple terms of booking a service appointment, they're calling or they're scheduling it online, and the first availability is like 2 weeks away in a lot of dealerships. Mm-hmm. So is some of the technology requirements with updating or doing these more intricate technological updates in these vehicles, do you see that contributing to some of the backlog, or is there something else at play?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that that's contributing to some of the lengthy time frames that exist from now and when a customer can get into a shop. Listen, there's shop loading issues that contribute to schedules getting bogged down. In a lot of instances, it's also related to alternative forms of transportation. So if customers are keen on getting a loaner car every time they come in, that can certainly contribute to some of the delays that people encounter with scheduling, particularly when the work that is with increasing frequency filling our shops is warranty work, because of all the electronic and electrical issues that are out there. And thankfully, the manufacturers are stepping up and they're paying for alternative transportation for customers, whether that be via dealership-owned service loaner fleets or rental cars. But there's only so much capacity to go around. And when cars are down for prolonged periods of time and it sucks capacity out of your loaner fleet or out of your alternative transportation fleets, that can contribute to scheduling issues. And of course, I've been doing this for 25 years, Sarah. I know you've been in the business a long time yourself. We're still grappling with what I believe are deficiencies in the scheduling software that we use. And I don't care whose scheduling software you use, they all seem to fall short of expectations when it comes to setting dealerships up to maximize scheduling efficiency and minimize delays that customers experience. So great opportunity for the best minds in the industry to work together and collaborate and try to get better. It's not the sexiest thing in the world to work on, if you will, service scheduling software or any of that type of stuff, but it's incredibly important to the customer experience. So as an industry, we've got to do better. We've got to do better as dealers working together with our technology vendors and with our OEM partners, because whether we like it or not, we're all, our fortunes are all linked together in this respect, and we have to do better.
You're so spot on, Andy. And I love the component that you talked about with, looking at the entire picture of the scheduling, holistically. You're looking at not only the scheduling availability, but also the capacity that your technicians, when they're available, and how much work you can take in or even add to. So there's a lot of components that go into managing these processes. There's a lot of dealers today too that are in considering and having some of these challenges, are thinking about ways, to revolutionize some of those challenges that they are seeing. So, what are some of the things that you're currently working on across the Vinart dealerships, and what successes have you been seeing?
Yeah, I'd say, of late, the changes we've implemented that I'm most excited about for future prospects are, number one, we've implemented a pre-write process. So we have a team of individuals who are looking at service appointments basically 72 hours out. And we're looking at those service appointments. We're making sure that the information in the appointment is accurate, that there aren't any duplicate customers in the system, that we have accurately obtained the contact information for not only the owner of the vehicle, but the primary driver of the vehicle that's going to be bringing it in and will be the point of contact. A lot of instances, it could be a husband and a wife situation where the car is in both names, but it's the wife's car. She's the primary driver, so she's the decision maker, and so on and so forth. So again, it's one of those things where we felt like addressing some of these administrative functions up front before the customer even gets there removes some of the friction that may have existed in not doing that. And then we have to do it on the drive when the customer shows up, the service advisor, it's a busy morning, we're trying to get people in and out. We just felt like we had opportunities to introduce some efficiencies through an effective pre-write process. And I have to tell you, it's really worked well. And it's taken a burden off of our service advisors. The customer experience is more seamless. It's more efficient when they arrive for check-in. And that's been a really, really great addition to our process. So very proud of the work my service directors have done there, and that the team has done in implementing that process. The next phase that we're looking at is, how do we get a car, once it's checked in, into our shop and into a triage process, if you will, where we can effectively complete a multi-point inspection and get it to the customer within X amount of time of them dropping off that vehicle, or within X amount of time of their lift of their check-in time and their lift appointment, however you want to characterize it. Different stores do it different ways, right? So that really has been a bigger issue to tackle, because when you're talking about a multi-point inspection, certainly it's a tool that we use to make sure customers get a complete picture of the health of their vehicle, both before, obviously when it comes in, so that they have something to compare to it after it leaves our shop as well. We want them to have that complete picture. There's a lot of value in that. And of course, it's a sales tool as well, right? So, if you think about it, the quicker we can get an MPI to a customer to make a decision, the better we are positioned to sell more work and increase customer satisfaction. Because if you think about it, Sarah, if a customer checks in at 9 o'clock and we don't get an MPI to them until 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, mentally, psychologically, do we really think that they're going to be in a position to make a decision and say yes to something that we're recommending, when in reality they're just wondering they're worried at that point about, when am I going to get my car back? And I don't want to, even though I might be inclined to say yes to do something, if it's just going to delay things and make it, take longer for me to get my car back, I'm not interested. right? So we're trying to front load that portion of the process into some of these new triage teams that we're testing in some of our stores to see if we can effectively deliver a comprehensive MPI to a customer within, say, 90 minutes of them dropping the car off. But what does that entail? That sounds easy to do, but it entails so much from a logistical standpoint. So, those are the kinds of things. I wish I had answers, like substantive answers, like this is what we're doing and this is how we're accomplishing it. We're really just challenging ourselves by asking the question right now and trying to figure it out. And if we can scale it, then if we can answer the question and then scale it, of course, that would be the primary objective. So those are my two areas of focus right now that I'm working on with my team.
Well, Andy, it sounds like that is an incredible addition to the processes and the customer experience that you have at your dealerships. And I'm excited. We'll have to follow up with you at our September event coming up too, and just hear how things are progressing with all of it at that time.
I should hopefully have a report for you by then. We'll see. It's these things are always fluid situations, if you will. And they're always sort of wrought with peril at every corner. So you're not really sure what you're getting into. But I kidding aside, I think we'll have some good data to share by that time. And we'll see. I could be coming back here, Sarah, and telling you we failed miserably. So, it wouldn't be the first time. But, you as Wayne Gretzky famously said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So we got to take the shot.
Absolutely, Andy. That is a great phrase to close on today. I want to thank you for being part of this Fixed Ops Roundtable interview today. We learned a lot of really great information. So thank you for sharing all your expertise and insights.
Well, thank you, Sarah. It's great to be with you as always, and best wishes for future continued success on this forum. You guys are doing a great job.
Well, everyone, on behalf of Ted Ings and the Fixed Ops Roundtable, Andy Wright here with us today, managing partner of Vinart Dealerships.
Hi, I'm Andy Wright, the owner of Porsche Lehigh Valley. I'd like to personally introduce you to our dealership on the Lehigh Street Auto Mile in Allentown. Our team of dedicated Porsche certified professionals are here to assist you with all your vehicle needs. Customer service is at the center of everything we do. If you're in the market for a new or certified pre-owned Porsche sports car or SUV, we are your local trusted source. If you're in need of service or parts for a Porsche you currently own, our team of Porsche certified professionals, including master certified technicians, are here to assist you. We offer a large fleet of Porsche loaner vehicles for use while your car is with us, as well as complimentary pickup and delivery service. If you're inclined to wait with us while your vehicle is in for service, our luxurious, state-of-the-art customer lounge features all the amenities you'd expect at Porsche. For our team, it's all about relationships. Please call us or message us anytime you're in need of assistance. You'll find all the information you need on our website, including my personal contact information. Thank you for watching. We look forward to welcoming you to Porsche Lehigh Valley.
This crew is out of this world. It is the AutoMax TechVengers panel.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. This is the team. These are the A-list. You're looking at the members right now. This is the AutoMax TechVengers panel, some of the very best in the industry. I know that firsthand. Probably the longest running, Marco, I believe, panel on the Fixed Ops Roundtable. Would that be correct, sir?
That is absolutely correct. The longest running and probably one of the best viewed and most expected. Proud of it.
And the most trash talking, by the way.
Proud of all of you, and thank you for all you do in your contributions. The leader is Joe Lockard from AutoMax Recruiting. Joe, welcome back to the event.
Yeah, Ted, always a pleasure to be here. Excited to get started. Excited to spend some time with these guys. Like I said, these are fun, man. This isn't work. This is just hanging out and talking shop. So I'm ready to get going.
And Joe, I saw something recently about a new home, and it looks like you got a new background there.
Yeah, it's a little barren. I wish I should pan over to the side here. There's about 5 boxes stacked up to the side here. We've been here for 6 weeks, but we're social people, man. We just keep having people over and entertaining and not getting anything done. So next one, it'll look nice and pretty behind me. I promise. I'll have all my Cleveland sports gear back there.
All right. I'll get out of the way and let you gentlemen get the show started. You're in the very capable hands of Joe Lockard. Here we go.
Appreciate it, Ted. Guys, so everybody out there, welcome. As Ted said, we are the TechVengers panel. I have a great crew with me here. I want to introduce everybody real quick, and then we'll get right into our topic. First, I'm going to start with Shon Kingrey. Shon is VP of Fixed Operations for the Kaiser Automotive Group. Shon, how are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I'm good. No complaints, my friend. You get any warm weather up there yet?
No, it's funny. We were doing a panel. We were talking about, and I'm not going to get off a sidetrack here. We were doing a panel. Obviously, we were talking about Q1 results, and we're in the middle of Q2 and how Q1 turned out and where we fell short and where our strengths were. Guys living in Madison, we only had 2 snowfalls all year. And when I say 2 snowfalls, there wasn't blizzards. These were light snows that didn't really matter. That didn't last more than 2 days. Yeah. And it really threw our numbers off. It threw your planning off because you got parts that are off, because body shops are off, because there's no crashes. And it was a good panel, to be very honest, about how you didn't sell any tires. I mean, it's weird how you plan. Still finished 18% year over year because you had to punt, quite frankly. Q1 was a punt. Q2 is good.
Okay, good. Great. All right. Well, thanks for being here as always. Up next, Tom Druzynski. Tom is Director of Service Operations for Westher Auto Group. Tom, how are you? Look at the beard, man. Best beard in the Fixed Ops Roundtable universe, my friend.
Love it. Love it.
It's beautiful. What's new, my friend?
Doing well, man. Living life, having a blast. The year's been fantastic. Really have no complaints.
Good. Awesome. Well, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Next is Mike Weldon. Mike, new position for Mike, shortest retirement in the history of the automotive industry. We all kind of laughed when he said he's retiring anyway. Mike is now working with Ted Ings as a CPI performance coach. Mike, how are you? How's that been going?
It's been a real learning experience. I've truly enjoyed it. The hardest thing for me is to go into a store, seeing that there's opportunities there and not be able to apply when I'm thinking. So that, that's the biggest learning lesson, but it's really opened my eyes. There's a lot of opportunities out there.
Sure, and we're going to get to some of that tonight. It's definitely different on this side, if you will. So I'm happy for you, though. It's great to see you and Ted working together. Next is Jim Sabino. Jim is Fixed Ops Director for All-American Ford, All-American Collision Center in beautiful Paramus, New Jersey. How are you, Jim?
Very good, Joe. And yourself? Things are going
I'm
well
good,
in
man.
the Northeast. I know you're just a short drive down the turnpike away from you.
I miss Jersey. We haven't been back much this year. We always get down in the summer once. I think I might subject my kids to casino life and find somewhere not too ridiculous in Atlantic City. We can do the Borgata Harris thing. It's always fairly.
It's always fun. It's always safe. Always good. It's a good time.
It is. I miss Jersey, man. It's good to have you back on the panel here. Thanks for being here, Jim.
Thanks for having me. It's a great group of guys here, and I really enjoy being part of this panel.
You bet, man. And last but certainly not least, Marco Zwanenburg, our resident technician of the stars, 20 plus years, master of all trades automotive technician, currently working at Naples Luxury Imports, to the dismay of everyone on this panel. How are you, sir?
I am doing great. Feels good to be in such high demand, and we can talk. But I'm anxious to kick this panel off. So, gents, let's light the fires and kick the tire, shall we?
Yes, absolutely. So, I want to start this off on a little bit of a personal note.
Am I just chopped liver, Joe? Am I just chopped?
Don, I missed you. You weren't in my intros. Oh my gosh. That's the first
I just
time
sent him a text. Don, I just sent him a text and said, you forgot the guy down below there.
Man, thanks. Don Andrus.
Good to see you, Joe.
Don is owner and president of Auto SCT Consulting and Training. He's the author of Why Auto Service Departments Fail to Grow. He's doing some wonderful things out there in the industry. Man, I'm going to send you a fruit basket or something, Don.
It's all good. And actually, I've been involved with TED and CPI and the performance coaching as well, too. So that has made for a super busy first quarter of the year and still going forward and travel. Yeah, it's been fun.
Still based out of Ohio, correct?
Yeah, Dublin. We got the Memorial Tournament coming up pretty soon, Jack's tournament. We always love that spectacle.
Absolutely. Beautiful. All right, well, thanks for being here, sir. My apologies.
It's all good.
So I was just so excited to get to this topic, Don. It's so good tonight. All right, so I want to talk about, I'm going to put this on a personal level here for a minute and tie it all together. Some of you may know I'm the father of 3 lovely daughters, and as such, I'm constantly looking for ways to not lose my mind and always looking to better myself as a father. And for me, that always starts with mindset and also knowing the mindset of children. So I've read a lot of, literature on child psychology and trying to get inside the head of a child and what motivates them, et cetera. And when I, read some of these books, I'm always amazed at how easy the connection is and the analogy is for our industry and treating your dealership and your service department like a family. And the one concept that, I see come up a lot in these child psychology, these parenting books, if you will, is the idea that children need to feel safe. And when they don't feel safe, that's when the bad stuff starts happening. That's when they go off the rails. That's when they act out, et cetera. And there's 3 things that a lot of books hit on that kids need to feel safe. And that's love, honesty, and support. So let's kind of do an analogy here. Let's assume for a moment that all of us here are fixed ops leaders, and we're trying to run a successful shop, and we are playing the role of the parents in the dealership. And Marco, you and your technician brethren are the children, figuratively speaking, of course. I would never call technicians childish in any way. Wouldn't that be the same thing for them? Wouldn't you feel that most technicians, in order for them to feel safe, meaning in their case, they're not causing problems at work, they're not losing efficiency, they're not, worst of all, running away from home and finding a new family, and they still need to feel that love, that honesty, and that support. And that last aspect, support, is what I want to talk about here today, and how we see that playing out in our industry. And Mike, I do want to start with you. And you've mentioned you spent many years inside service departments, running service departments, and now you're on the other side and you have this big, broad view, and you're going into various stores, and it's not your store and you're not in charge of that store. But as a consultant, you're constantly taking notes, and you've seen kind of this theme come up repeatedly, unfortunately, that you're just not seeing support for technicians that needs to be there so that they can feel like this is where they belong.
Yeah, that's what bothers me the most is we haven't learned. We haven't learned that everybody is essential to the operation of a business, and that we should all be family in some sense of form, that we're all working together to drive the end results where everybody benefits. And that's the most perplexing part, is that they're not considered essential or important as they should be, along with other staff members within a department. Sure. And most people, if they were just to sit down and do the math and understand that if I didn't have these people, or I didn't have the number of people, or I didn't have the quality of people, how would that impact the net? And
Yeah.
if somebody were just to sit down and look at that and say, we got to treat each other better.
Right. Well, pick out a couple tangible things that you've seen when you've gone into stores, and here's something, easy fixes a lot of the times too. Just stuff that we're just missing, that if we just made X change, it's going to improve the environment, and it's going to make that tech, feel valued and feel like, hey, this is something, and this is a place I want to be for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Well, it impacts everybody. And I think the biggest thing that I see here is that technicians still don't understand how they're being paid. They don't understand, where the benefit comes from. And then so they get disenchanted, and then they hear down the street that so-and-so is paying this way and you're going to make a ton of money, and they jump ship. And then they get down there and they find out that doesn't work either. And then they jump ship, and then they come back your way and they're still not happy. And they've had a lot of poor experiences. So trying to turn them and try to train them, it's an uphill battle. So they're always thinking you're trying to get into their pockets. And I think we got to get beyond that and start building that trust with each other and showing these guys that, hey, if we'll use Tully's terms, if I can make you go home tired and rich, would that make you mad? And because everybody benefits when that happens.
Right.
But I think that's the biggest thing. They don't understand how they're getting paid, or they're not appreciated in their environment, or and those are the things that are quite alarming. And then trying to convince management in this particular role to take a different light on how they evaluate things, it's kind of a struggle.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you. I appreciate it, Mike. And we see it. I'm obviously, I would love for everybody to stay, technicians to stay there for 10 years. Your entire team never goes anywhere 10, 15, 20 years. But obviously we don't exist if there wasn't so much turnover and there wasn't so much flipping, and this wasn't right, and I'm trying here, I'm trying the next one, I'm trying the next one. And look, there's certainly cases where it's just somebody chasing a paycheck, but a lot of times it's because they haven't felt supported. They don't feel loved, and they're just trying to find the right home. Just keep looking and looking and looking. Shon, I want to come to you next. And again, with kind of this idea of support, it varies on the level of technician, I think, right? I mean, support for an apprentice technician coming right out of trade school is significantly different than what a 10 plus year master technician, Chrysler level 3 technician is going to need to feel from a leadership position to stay where they are and to value, their spot.
It has, and I think the one thing we've all realized, and I'm going to get on my soapbox, and I usually try not to, is, guys, it's not about money anymore. I mean, I made a joke when we started this that this is the trash talking session, and by the way, it is offline in between when we do the recordings. There's a lot of trash talk. We talk about recruiting. Marco, he already knows, and huge money and all this and that. I think the one thing that we've all figured out is there is a tech shortage. When there isn't a tech, the OEMs like, there isn't a shortage, guys. There's a huge tech shortage. Okay, it's not about money anymore. It's not about not buying him pizza because Marco's got that sold. Okay, it's not about pizza anymore. It's not about going around and talking. The number one obviously is communication. We all know the biggest breakdown in any dealership is communication. We all know that. The biggest failures, I think, in any store you go to now is an I person. If you have a manager that's an I person, because guys, and I'm going to tell you this, 30 years of doing this, and Ted says I'm not allowed to say that I'm in Q4 of my career anymore, but 30 years, those technicians are far smarter than I am now. Those are computers. They're not engines anymore, okay? They're working on things that I couldn't dream of working on.
Yeah.
And if you have a manager that wants to sit in his office and talk about how great I is, I being him, and it's not him that's creating the money, it's the guys on the other side of that wall. And if you have an I person, you have the wrong person. I'm going to speak for Don for a second because Don got to tour a couple of my stores. And Don got to tour one of my managers, who, by the way, is an I person. And Don already knows who I'm talking about. And I admit that I struggle with him. Been there a long time. Turns really good numbers. But has no relationship with his technicians at all. In all due respect, they hate him. And they hate him because it's I. And because of that, they fail. Because the technicians now are more important They're not grease monkeys. They're not oil change guys. They're not quick lubers. They're not tire changers. They're bigger than that. And until you figure that out, I think everybody on this panel has figured it out because you got the big boy crew here. We all know that, okay? But you've got those managers who are just convinced that, well, look what I did for you. You didn't do crap. You're not the one that turned the hours, by the way. You're not the one that had to stay late or listen to the OEM tell them to replace 13 parts before they replaced the part they wanted to do originally anyway. Marco's laughing because we all know that, okay? It's like, well, I'm going to call Techline to fix the car. Techline are people that couldn't fix cars to begin with. So I know I got on my soapbox there, but yeah, it's bigger than the small things now. It is making sure that technicians are, quite frankly, probably becoming more important than the advisors are, especially with videos. Because again, what are we doing? I'm not saying we're replacing advisors, guys, but realistically, it's the technicians that are doing the job, fixing the job, and now, darn it, they're selling the job too.
Yeah. Those are some great points. I appreciate, the honesty, especially within your own stores and calling things the way they are. And I think what you're talking about is being a true leader, right? A lot of times you'll see, I know a lot of you guys have come up from various different backgrounds to be in the leadership roles that you're in, but just because someone was a great technician doesn't mean they're going to be a great leader. Just because they know fixed ops doesn't mean they're going to be a great leader. And you really do have to kind of get out of your own way and just provide that support. Be honest. If they need a kick in the butt, give them the kick in the butt. But at the end of the day, like you said, the team, the kids, the family, they're the ones putting the work in, and it's their butts on the line when things weren't going the right way. So I agree with what you're saying, and I appreciate your honesty. I want to go to Marco. Marco, obviously, you're on the other side of this, and you've talked about your current employer, and we all joke. I've said I'm ready and waiting whenever you're ready to make a move, but I don't see it happening anytime soon because at various points of your life and through some of the struggles and things that you've had in your life, issues you've had, they've been supportive of you. What are some of the things that you felt from them that make you turn down everybody on this panel when they come knocking?
First of all, because everybody from the GM on down knows my name, knows my daughter's name, always asks how I'm doing, what's going on, how can they help me? So there's severe interest, not like, oh, I'm reading a script, how can I help you? Okay, whatever. No. Everybody always has time for me. In the first place, they know my name, they know my situation. It does from the porters all the way up to the general manager, you name it. So I feel like I am a person there. I am appreciated for who I am, not for what I produce for you. Yeah. And let me drop a bomb here for you guys. I've been saying this for many, many years. There is no technician shortage. There is none. I can supply each and every one of you with a shop full in the next 24 hours. You have a management problem, or dare I say a leadership problem. That is where the issue lays. And unfortunately, there's so many bad ones out there that every technician coming into your shop is like a scared, beaten dog. We are so used to how it was. You offered no culture, no support, no help. Let me ask you a question. Where do your parts people make you money?
Yeah, in the shop.
Shon, where do technicians make you money?
Where they're going to be in Q3 and Q4 in the shop and not on the back parts counter?
Exactly. So we all have these wonderful computers sitting there, right? We all have MPI programs that communicate through the entire store. If you are not using this, your policies and procedures are failing, which comes down to management, not us, not the technicians. Oh, no, he has low numbers. Get him out. We'll find someone else. Well, good luck in the first place. In the second place, you are hunting down the wrong things. Let's start with that. Why I am where I'm at is because of my management. Listen, guys, I've been doing this for a long time. I hate each and every freaking car out there. I don't care what name is on the hood. I don't like working on them anymore, but I'm good at it. But I am where I'm at because of my management, because of the culture, and because of I'm being treated as a sentient being, as a person, not a number, not a wrench.
Interesting. Okay. I appreciate you giving the other side of it. And like I said, I've told everybody on here, I don't think you're going anywhere anytime soon. But it's awesome. It's great that you found someone and a place where you can feel that. And like you said, hate doing the work that you're doing, but love going to work every day because of the people that you're there and supported by. Thanks, Marco. Don, I want to come to you next. And again, kind of the same, other side perspective that Mike's seeing now that we've experienced over the past 28 years. And you've run service departments before, and now you're seeing some of the problems when you go into these shops. What are some of the things that you're seeing that could be cleaned up in regard to showing that support for your technicians?
It's funny because you get in some beautiful stores. They spend a lot of money on that write-up area, on their meet and greet, on their pickup and delivery. There's a lot of money getting spent to make the customer experience great. But then when you actually walk into the shop and you realize we still have a flow issue of ROs moving through the shop. Things don't go as smooth as we envision. We buy these great tools that are great communicators, but when they're under the hood, they're not always seeing that notification come up on their computer as well. And so how often do you make them stop and go look at notifications and all these types of things that play into the havoc of a technician just trying to get through the day, right? Yeah. So he's trying to diagnose something, and he's still trying to follow the process, follow the procedure, knows the value of a good MPI, knows that embracing that will equate to cash for him because we can close some deals on additional needed services. So I'm not just trying to make a living diagnosing only, but I'm upselling. Those are all great things. But I'll be honest with you, as you go into these stores, you start realizing ridiculously stupid little nuances that cause havoc with a technician. I'll give you an example. There's some large facilities I get into with large parking lots. Guess what? They're spending 15 minutes finding a car. A car. And I said, I know it's a small thing, but if you numbered the lot and you put the number on the key tag and they get accustomed to knowing that number is in the third row, they're getting to the car in a few minutes. There was a store I was at that had built a parking garage, 7 stories high parking garage, and did not label the key. So the technician was literally having to grab another technician, get in the car, drive up and down the 7th floor to find his car. That was a half hour he's never going to get back.
And took another tech with him.
And so you say to these people, you just pause and you say, guys, it is you. It's the productivity issue and the money getting left on the table is these technicians with these giant hurdles, and all they want to do is truly fix the car. All they want to know is that the approval was made and I can go ahead, or that the parts are in fact coming, and so I can stay wrenching. But you talk to a tech and he says, yeah, sometimes it's a half a day before I hear back from the approval. And meanwhile, I've long since pulled the car out, brought another car in, when in fact that machine-like attitude could have been making it highly productive in shop because they had business. So from management standpoint, getting back to understanding the roadblocks that are taking and stealing away a little bit of time from a tech is so important in the idea of managing a true highly productive shop.
Wow. Yeah. And I think this comes back to what Mike and Shon were talking about. It's just communication, the importance of communication. And look, I know we all hate meetings and it's a total time zap and no one's getting paid. Techs aren't making money when they're sitting in a meeting. But what is support? I mean, when I see my kids struggling, number one thing, half the time I just have to say, what's going on? How can I help? Just say, how can I help? And then listen. Write it down, make a note in your phone and go back to it at the end of the day. I get it. Things are moving fast, but just asking, what's going on? Why are you frustrated? How can I help? Is huge. Stuff like that comes up through the course of the day. That's a great story, Don. Thanks. Jim, I want to come to you next. I've dealt with a number of Jersey. Our roots are in Jersey, so I've dealt with a lot of North Jersey stores, New York City metros, it can be a bit of a cluster. There's a lot going on at Jersey stores, and a lot of times small lots, and things get a little crazy. What are some of the things you guys have done in your shop to help everybody feel less hectic and feel more supported?
So again, Joe, the common theme here, and everybody hits on it, and I'm going to tell you first out of the box, it's leadership. Leadership sets the tone. Management, leadership, they set the tone. Treat people like they matter, and they will. That's the end result, right? So if you create a culture that is friendly, that is caring, that is you're concerned and you're listening, you not only do you speak, but you listen when your employees speak to you. That goes a long, long way because they feel like you care. And if you have to act on their questions or their concerns. So you want to include them in kind of the day-to-day operation, take down any type of roadblocks or barriers that prevent them from being productive or working efficiently. If you do that, they're going to notice that and remember, wow, he just saved me a lot of time here, or I'm able to book more hours, or I'm able to communicate with my customers a little bit easier, or whatever the case is. So it's the culture that you create within your organization. That's going to be the make or break. It's not, as Marco said, it's not bad technicians, it's bad leadership, bad management that creates the problem. So it doesn't get fixed without that being addressed. Take interest in them. Like Marco said, everyone knows my name. I love that. I mean, there's nothing better than a general manager, a dealer principal saying good morning, good afternoon. How are you, Marco? How's your daughter doing today? How did she do in that event that she did over the weekend? Was it a success? Things like that. And like, wow, that right there goes the distance every single time. So forget the pizza parties, all that crap. That's just nothing. We all know that.
I cringe when I see the grill outs and the pizza parties, and I cringe. I see a lot.
Man,
and Jim, what did it cost for that general manager to walk through and say hello to Marco?
100%.
Nothing.
It cost him nothing, but gains him everything. Gains him
more than a pay raise. Well, sorry.
Yep. So
let's be honest, guys. That's a lot of what we're talking about. You guys are, service directors, fixed op directors. You guys know your technicians' names. You walk around the shop. That's one thing. To get buy-in and participation from the people on the other side and the owners, that's what you're really looking for.
Correct. And again, like Marco said, and pretty much everyone's
you need to know your people.
Leadership and management have to set the tone. They have to set the right tone. People will buy in. People, if they feel respected, if they feel valued, the end result is going to be more productivity, more efficiency, and they're going to be happier doing their job. Even though Marco hates every car out there, he still shows up every morning to work and do his job, right? Because he feels valued there. He enjoys the people. It's more of a family feeling than he's not just a, tech number 1, 2, 3. He's Marco. He has a meaning. He has a presence there. So that makes a world of difference every day.
And I know Tom has to go here, Joe. I'm going to say something. I said something real quick on a previous recording today that we had. I made a comment about spiffs and advisors and technicians and whatever. When's the last time you saw a $50 spiff on a technician's desk or a technician's box? You don't, or on an advisor's desk. Yeah, Marco. But no, but the joke is this: the $50 spiff doesn't matter. Give them some recognition. The little trophies, those trophies that follow around on the advisor's desk, by the way, which cost half the price of that $50 spiff, have twice the meaning because there's recognition involved.
Yeah.
Forget the spiff, guys. It's recognition. We're beyond the money at this point. Sorry, Tom. I didn't mean to step on you there, buddy.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Thanks. And Jim, thank you. That was well stated. And Tom, I do want to come to you now. And we've never worked directly with your group, but I hear wonderful things. I know you guys are doing the right stuff. I'd love to hear a little bit from you, what you guys do to keep your techs supported, to not need a company like mine, and to keep your techs on board.
I mean, there's quite a few things, starting with giving them a path. We've talked about this numerous times in this exact panel of, the ability to not just be a technician forever, right? Or C Tech, B Tech, A Tech, that there's other things that they can do within the stores, team leaders, mentors, all of those sort of things, different things that they can aspire to. But there's a lot of little things that you can do too, to show that you respect their time and you respect them as people. Take care of their equipment, right? So many times I've heard technicians that have come to us and it's like, well, the welder went down and they told us that it was a bad policy month, so we'll fix it next month. or the expenses were too bad. So we didn't fix the tire machine right away. We let it go. And, we have expiration dates for our lifts. We set a date, and that's the maximum amount of time that lift is allowed to go. It doesn't matter if it's in perfect working order. It's going to go. It's for the safety of the technicians, but also those lifts over time, they get tired. So making sure that you're doing those little things and keeping the shop working, keeping the tools working, and those quick weekly 10-minute meetings, the little shop meetings, that's where all of that comes out. You'll ask, that's one of the questions. Hey guys, how's the equipment? Right? Yeah. Do we have any equipment needs, any equipment issues? And if you handle those things right away, that one technician tells you, hey boss, this piece doesn't work. You make that phone call, you've got them there that day coming to fix that piece of equipment. That speaks volumes to your technicians, as opposed to going, we'll get it next month. We don't use that tool.
They're there for life at that point. I mean, I'm part of the team. They're listening to me. I'm part of this. Huh.
The other part that I see too often from techs that come in is the and I know that I've got some stores that can be guilty of this at times, is putting up with the toxic performer for too long. You've got a group of men and women in that shop that are fantastic, and the harmony is great. And then you have the one that is just constantly wants to tell everybody how bad they've got it and how things are unfair and, all of those sort of things. And it's like, all right, but that technician turns 60, 70, 80 hours a week. So we put up with it. We let it go because we need that production, right? We still have a business to run. We need that production. But what you have to remember is that the good of one can never outweigh the good of the team. And in that case, you're letting that one person spoil all of the rest of those people in that shop. You want to chase out those young technicians. They're going to help you keep your cost of labor down, and the ones that really are going to be your next Marcos in the shop. Let somebody like that, let one of those toxic performers stay for just a bit too long, and watch them chase all of those people away to your competitors.
Yeah. And, talking about asking what's wrong, what's going on, how can I help? That's an uncomfortable conversation that can come up. And if you're hearing it multiple times from multiple people, you got to do something. And honestly, guys, we hear that as much as it's a 911. I need 3 technicians right now. I've had multiple conversations this year with, I need to get rid of my GM Master Tech because he's a problem and no one can stand this guy. Shon, I remember when you're down at step 1, I think it was at the Subaru store. That was one of the conversations we had. Guys making a ton of money and nobody wanted him there.
Right? No, by the way, to Joe's point, guys, Subaru didn't want him there.
Yeah.
They asked us to fire him.
Crazy. Right. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. So that's our family support group conversation, and I appreciate all your contributions there. No joke though, I do use the parenting analogy a lot when I'm talking to clients and having these types of conversations. I think it always plays.
Joe, does it feel like the group is getting stronger? Just listening and sitting back and
absolutely, yeah, we're a cohesive unit at this point. Finishing each other's sentences.
I love it.
I'm gonna start asking for write-ins for new topics, though. I'll tell you, the hardest part anymore is we've uncovered so much. It's like Tom said earlier. It's like we have and we get new viewers every time. So I'm happy to rehash the same stuff. It's important. The repetition is important.
Well, there's a lot of things happening in the shop, and we're going to do our best to uncover them at this event and the next couple events. Joe, if the audience wants to reach out to you at AutoMax Recruiting and Training, what's the best way? And if they have just questions, can they contact you and ask you those?
Yeah, social media is usually easy. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. Shoot me a message on LinkedIn. Find me on LinkedIn. You can go to our website and contact us there, automaxrecruitingandtraining.com. My cell phone's at the bottom. Shoot me a text. Doesn't matter. Email, everything.
All right. What a great group. Mike Weldon, Don Andres, Jim Sabino, Tom Druzynski, Shon Kingrey, Marco Zwanenburg, and Joe Lockard. The AutoMax TechVengers panel led by Joe Lockard here today at the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
At AutoMax Recruiting and Training, we've helped recruit, screen, and place over 180,000 retail automotive professionals in every department. Along with our robust in-person training programs, With AutoMax, you'll be pushing the hire button in no time. AutoMax Recruiting and Training. Any other retail automotive talent search is positively primitive.
Hi, my name is Rick Daly. Hoist hanger is a patented lift accessory that allows technicians to remove and reinstall today's heavy wheel and tire combinations. With no need to bend down to pick the wheel up off the ground, back strain is eliminated. We have supplied over 25,000 lifts throughout North America with hoist hangers. Hoist hangers are a quality lift accessory. Increase technician efficiency, eliminate back strain from incorrect lifting of today's heavy wheel and tire combinations. Whether you have in-ground lifts or above-ground lifts, we have a size and application to fit the lifts in your shop.
Achieve liftoff with Leonard Bellavia from Bellavia Blatt PC and dealerlaw.com.
Welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable. It's that time of the event where we want to check in with the dealer's counselor, Len Bellavia, who is here. He is the founding partner at Bellavia Blatt PC, dealerlaw.com, a friend of the dealer. Len, welcome back to the Fixed Ops Roundtable.
Well, great to be with you, Ted. Always a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Len, a lot happening in our industry, no surprises, and want to talk to you a little bit about things that are happening, such as tariffs, how that will affect the dealer, how that's already affecting commerce, and of course, the impact on fixed ops. So your thoughts on what's happening today?
Well, look, Ted, I guess, one of the advantages of getting a little bit, long in the tooth in this industry is that we've seen it all. You probably as well remember the oil embargo and the advent of the internet, certainly COVID, and the price problems, charging over list. I mean, there's been so many things that have happened. It's almost like another day at the office. However, dealers have to pivot. There's obviously going to be a market change in the way they do business. And I can see already, based on just the last 60 days, that dealers are becoming much more proactive at trying to figure out an end run around the tariff problem. I think dealers are paying much more attention. I just noticed in giving presentations generally that the attendance is way up. Speaking for state associations and so forth, it's refreshing actually to see that dealers are paying close attention on trying to figure out a way not to be caught in the crosshairs of whatever the tariff's going to bring. So, on the fixed ops side, what I'm noticing, I mean, I'll just give you a couple of observations, and then maybe I can speak to what I'm recommending to my regular clients. I can tell you that in the past 45 days, the calls we've been getting to get dealers retail reimbursement for parts and labor have almost tripled. Wow. And that tells me that dealers are paying, once again, very close attention to fixed ops. They're refreshing. I guess the one bright light in this whole debacle is that dealers recognize that fixed ops is tried and true. In other words, whatever's going on in the front end, it may have impact on the service department, but fixed ops is impervious to all of these things that dealers have been experiencing. And while they may not sell as many cars over the next however many months it takes to sort this out, one thing is for sure, the service department is not going to suffer, certainly in terms of volume, because I think, most of the experts agree that people are potentially going to keep their cars longer. The average age of a vehicle is 12 years.
Yes.
So now consumers have to figure out a way to get that 12 years to 14 or 15 years, and that means they're going to have to service the vehicle. So there is a tremendous opportunity for dealers to try and figure out, like I said, an end run, a way around what might be happening adversely on the sales side. Used cars is obviously another way to try and salvage potential lost sales or compressed margins on the front end. So I know that the used car managers have been attending a lot of seminars. So the good news is dealers are trying to figure out a way to move forward and maintain profitability to the extent possible. I suppose, taking a 30,000-foot view, if you want to put a silver lining on this, and this is really just trying, I guess, to rationalize somewhat, the new car department is the least profitable department. So to the extent that this has a negative impact on new car sales, which it probably will to some degree, the good news is profitability can be enhanced from the used car department and the service department. And one of the things I just touched upon that dealers are responding favorably is they realize that although I would say 99.9% of dealers are now, after many years, maybe decades, of increasing markups on warranty reimbursement for both parts and labor, dealers are aware of it. Most of them have done it. I think where they have fallen short, and interestingly, we're getting calls now from dealers who have done increased labor rates for warranty reimbursement. They're saying, well, I did it a year ago. I think I have to do it again, because if I can, let's just use some simple math. If the cost of parts are going to go up from between 10 and 15%, because that's the projection. Well, if I increase my warranty labor rate by 10 or 15%, that'll certainly offset some, if not all, of the increase in the cost of parts. Secondly, customer pay. Customer pay is going to go up. Now, dealers have to make their own decisions now on customer pay. Do they want to increase the expense? They want to increase their cost, pass it along to consumers. The cost will go up. They won't be increasing. The cost of parts will go up. So do they wish to pass that along to consumers on the customer pay side? My response to dealers that I've had these conversations has been, look, your costs are going to go up. Certainly you can pass it along. Customers will intellectually understand that. They may not be happy, but it's a lost opportunity, because if dealers focus on increasing warranty revenue, gross profits, in an amount that equals or surpasses the increase in the cost of the parts due to the tariffs, then they're in the same place. So essentially, the tariffs have not negatively impacted fixed ops revenues, but they can even do better than that, because their customer pay business is going to increase, simply because everyone is saying that customers are going to be looking for ways to extend the life of their vehicles. So what better opportunity than to communicate with all of your customers good news in the face of this tariff problem? And that is, we're not going to be raising prices. We appreciate that you may have an interest in prolonging the life of your vehicle. Well, we're partnering with you. We're not going to raise prices, and this is how we're proposing to do it. So I think it's a great opportunity to turn a negative into a positive, and the increased revenue that might produce should increase or should minimize the negative impact that's going to take place on the front end. So reduce sales on the front end, which is really compressed margins, right? Dealers are going to have to either sales are going to go down, and margins on vehicles that will be sold or leased will be depressed. So ways to pick up on that: used cars and fixed ops. Now, one of the other obvious solutions beyond being more vigilant at getting warranty increases, and I'll say this to your audience because I know most of your audience consists of fixed ops directors, okay? This may sound self-serving, but you can take it with a grain of salt if you want, but the biggest malpractice from a fixed ops director that I see is engaging in self-help and not getting a licensed professional to get increases in warranty. I can tell you that the manufacturers are stepping up their game. Anytime there's a submission for increased warranty reimbursement on labor and parts, it automatically is going, obviously it gets reviewed by the field personnel, but then it goes to legal. And the lawyer's job is to try and frustrate the increase.
Yes, we're here. Actually, Len, we just we're talking about that in the green room. We're hearing that because, of course, the state statutes are all different, all the states, but there's a limit into when the manufacturer needs to respond. And we are hearing that they wait until the very end and they come back to the dealer to frustrate, it appears, and then ask for more information and restarting the clock again. Yeah, I think
they're sharpening their skills in terms of playing games. They're really playing games, and it's frustrating because time is money. So to the extent they can get an extra 30 or 60 days, they're saving, let's say, $15,000 on average per dealership per month. So the savings can be enormous, and they're doing it by trying to intimidate dealers by having rejection letters drafted by attorneys for the manufacturer. So, like I said, this may sound self-serving, but to have your service manager do the submission or a consultant who's not an attorney, keep in mind, this is a creature of state statute. It may sound simple, I'll just assemble 100 consecutive qualifying customer pay repair orders and throw them in the mail. It's not that simple. And anybody who's being honest will tell you that the devil's in the details, and each manufacturer has their own nuanced approach to how these submissions are going to be treated. So, I always, when a client asks me, can I have my service manager, fixed ops director do this? I'll say to them, look, I'm a lawyer. I can read the tax code, but I'm not going to be filing my own tax return.
No.
I could probably stumble my way through it, and I'll save $7,000 or $8,000 that I would pay my CPA. That's what we charge for the warranty reimbursement. So, wow, I saved myself $7,000 or $8,000, but I may have lost myself $100,000 or $200,000 in write-offs that I didn't even know about. So I think there's no shame in saying, you know what, there's an opportunity cost if I do this myself because I'm taking myself off my regular duties. So yeah, I saved $7,000, but I also maybe lost $20,000 by not being on top of my service department. And I wouldn't have gotten the same result that a professional would get. So again, so I think the key there is if your customer pay labor rate is $170 an hour and your warranty rate is $140, well, getting it up to $150 may sound negligible, but in the face of the tariffs and what it may portend, that $10 an hour translates into a huge amount of money at the end of the year, and it more than offsets the pricing structure you're going to charge your customer pay customers. So, you really got to take pen to paper and figure out what is the financial impact of the tariffs on the service department, and how can I plug holes in that by maximizing my warranty reimbursement. So not for the faint of heart. Secondly, there are a lot of games going on with all manufacturers with respect to no-cost parts. And your audience will know what that is. Those are handling fees or zero part pricing on batteries or high ticket items, engine assemblies, transmissions, where manufacturers play games. And instead of paying cost plus 75% on a part that costs $2,000, that's a $1,500 to $1,800 gross profit. They're paying $500 for a handling fee. Now, that happens a lot, and it happens with all manufacturers. And the call to arms there is that dealers should contact their state dealer associations, and the state dealers association should be mobilized to put a stop to that. I get calls all the time from state associations saying, what can we do about this? So the first thing we do is we let the manufacturer know that we're representing all the dealers in the state. I don't mean me, but we write these letters for the associations, measure the response, and then if the response is not what it should be, then it's up to the dealers to band together and say, all right, we're going to go to either the State Motor Vehicle Agency, the Department of Commissioner of Motor Vehicles, or file an action in court to get a declaration that dealers are being underpaid. So, the time for political correctness is over. This potentially could be life-threatening to a dealership. So, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be if dealers do just a few things to stave off the financial destruction of these potential destruction from these tariffs. And it's all in the fixed ops department. It is critical for dealers to say, all right, the fixed ops department is what pays our bills. I mean, in a perfect world, there's 100% shop absorption, right? So the front end is kind of the gravy. So if the thing is now to just break even, no one wants to just break even, but in a crisis, you want to keep your nose above water. The fixed ops department has the ability to keep the dealership above water until this tariff situation works itself out. So dealers need to say, all right, this is the lifeblood of the dealership. It's typically been treated as, the tail end, because usually dealers are front end centric. They come from a sales management position. So the service department is a necessary evil. Well, it is no longer a necessary evil. It is the lifeblood of the dealership survival for as long as it takes for this tariff situation to work itself out. I would argue that fixed ops should always be running at optimal. Why shouldn't it, even in good times?
Yes.
But now that the pressure is on, focus on retail reimbursement at parts and labor at retail rates.
Parts and labor, yeah.
Improving your customer pay. I can tell you that from doing countless submissions every month, we find that dealers are discounting too much on the customer pay, or they're posting the discounts in the wrong place.
Yes.
You can discount, but you got to, you make sure you put it in the right line item, because otherwise when you submit for your increase, it's going to penalize you. And these are things that can be easily corrected if dealers take the time. And most dealer principals are not really privy to this. This is not something they deal with on a daily basis. It's their service directors, and the service directors have to be vigilant in making sure that discounts are being handled properly because of the impact they'll have on a request for a retail reimbursement submission. Secondly, make sure that these no-cost items are being challenged. Thirdly, stop minimizing the impact of EV sale. EVs are actually more lucrative for a service department. And this is a misconception in the industry, both within the industry and outside. So how many times have I heard, there's no profit opportunity with EVs because there's very few moving, component parts that would be subject to warranty. Well, guess what? In the first year of the life of an EV, it is typically filled with quirkiness. There are things that happen that require a lot of diagnostic time. There's not a lot of history in repairing these vehicles, so there's some legitimate diagnostic time that needs to be spent, and that's why some experts are saying that EVs present 2 to 3 times the warranty revenue than an internal combustion engine vehicle. Dealers don't seem to be embracing that. So there's a lot to be said, and this kind of plays into the whole Scout. I don't want to go too far afield, but I think it's a relevant point to say, this whole Volkswagen Scout issue, let them sell directly if they want to. All we want is the service. Give us the service. I think that's where this is going to wind up. States are starting to start lawsuits against VW and Scout. And if I were, advising, I'd say, the compromise should be sell your cars at wholesale direct. That's fine. We don't want to pay floor plan. Isn't this good news potentially? Floor plan. The dealers did very well in 2021 through 2023 because they had very little floor plan. That was nirvana. So take advantage of that. Think about that business model. Yeah, this may be another opportunity to reduce floor plan interest. The Scout model, I'm not advocating the agency model in full here, but in that particular case, if the resolution is because Scout will lose these lawsuits, but be careful what you wish for, because then you don't want to have a whole lot full of Scouts you're paying floor plan interest on. The settlement should take the form, in my opinion anyway, let Scout sell directly and let us do the delivery and the service. Pay us a delivery fee, and we want the warranty and we want the customer pay. That's the best of all worlds. I think ultimately VW will realize that they're not going to sell as many Scouts as they would if they use their dealers, but let them learn that lesson the hard way. And when they come back to the dealers, then the dealers will be holding all the cards in terms of markups. So, there's a scientific process to resolving these problems. It's not simply let's just sue them and, let's get these cars on our lot so we can pay a lot of floor plan interest. Not really the way to go. It makes good headlines, but intellectually it's not the way to go. But the point is it feeds the service department. And the service department will keep any dealership alive indefinitely, whether it's COVID, the internet, oil embargoes, you name all of these crises. And it's always been the service department that has pulled the dealership through. So So I think I'm going to predict, Ted, that your attendance, your registration numbers are going to be double or triple what they were in prior sessions. I think people are going to pay attention to what needs to be done. And most dealer principals, I think, are calling the fixed ops directors into their office and saying, I'm going to count on you now more than I ever have, because I don't know what the front end is going to look like for the next 2 months or 12 months or whatever it's going to be. But I need you guys to keep this dealership afloat. And I don't think they're going to get any better advice than listening to the speakers that you're going to have on your presentation. So there's a lot of bad news out there, but I think it's overcome by what the fixed ops department can do to relieve all of the financial pressure that the tariffs will bring about.
All right, counselor. So just to summarize, focus on fixed, look at the opportunities there, look at the existing big chunk of revenue coming in, customer pay, and especially in warranty. Make sure that you are claiming everything as a dealer that you're entitled to in warranty, labor, and parts with the statutes. Don't have your service manager do it and take their eye off the ball of what's happening in the dealership. Call on the professional, as we would for our taxes, and have somebody who knows the statutes, knows the in and outs of the OEMs, handle that, make sure it's addressed properly, and prepare for growth in fixed ops. Is that about right?
Yeah, I would say to the dealer principal, keep 3 people very close to you over the next 6 months. Your fixed ops director, your CPA, and your attorney, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You've weathered the storm in the past, but it's game time in terms of having the right advisors on the team to make sure that whatever happens in the sales department doesn't trickle down into, what I consider to be the nucleus of the operation. So it's game time as far as, surrounding yourself with the right people and making sure the numbers. Actually, I think dealers will do better through this may sound, not consistent with the headlines you're seeing now, but I think what's going to happen is floor plan interest will go down, marketing expenses will go down, payroll costs will go down, warranty will go up, customer pay will go up. And in the end, the bottom line is going to look much brighter. So there's not a lot to panic about, except that change brings panic. And it doesn't necessarily have to be gloom and doom.
Len, it's common that our audience has questions. Dealers watching, general managers want to reach out for some professional advice, or maybe just get your opinion on things. Is it possible they can reach out to you, Len Bellavia, and your team? Because this is your sweet spot, Len.
Yeah, I actually enjoy it. So I don't charge dealers for phone calls. I actually enjoy talking the talk. So yeah, I can be reached at any time. There's no charge for a conversation. The easy way to get me is info@dealerlaw.com. Simply because you don't have to spell my last name, which nobody gets right. But it's lbelavia@dealerlaw.com. But the easy approach is info@dealerlaw, and I will call you back and we can brainstorm together. I enjoy doing it, so you're not imposing on my time. And I'd be happy to do that.
And dealership is running through your blood, your family's blood, Len. So it's it's a big part of your life. I understand that. And you're a great friend of the dealer. And we've had amazing compliments on the work that you do and continue to do. So thank you for advocating for our dealer audience, Len.
Well, it's my pleasure, Ted. I enjoy it, as you know, and I appreciate the invitation as always. Thank you.
Everybody, dealerlaw.com is the name. Len Bellavia is the man. He's the founding partner. Bellavia, Blatt, PC, dealerlaw.com. You can reach him, see his email scrolling there. Very active on social media. Len, on behalf of the Fixed Ops Roundtable, thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you, Ted. Much appreciated.
What if you could make a phone call and collect $100,000 to $150,000 a year by obtaining retail rates on both warranty parts and labor? Sound too good to be true? We do all of the work for your dealership. We are the pioneers in retail reimbursement and regarded as the industry leader amongst dealers, accountants, and state dealer associations nationwide. And we don't share in your new profits. You keep it all. Your service managers and parts managers are busy. They have a job to do. Leave it up to the experts. We offer a turnkey solution. Your manufacturer won't know you retained a law firm. Our firm has made thousands of submissions and has collected hundreds of millions of dollars for our clients in over 45 states. Because of our unmatched experience, our results yield the highest possible increases. We offer a low flat fee, never a contingency fee. Our fees are much lower than non-attorney consultants who take a percentage of your added profits. We are lawyers. This is legal work. Your state statute controls the outcome. The factories rely on their lawyers to respond. So let us level the playing field. Bottom line, thousands of dealers have selected Bellavia Blatt for their retail warranty submissions. With our low flat fee, expert reputation, and behind-the-scenes work model, we are your best choice.